4 straight wins, and Lane Kiffin brings his Owls strolling in with confidence. That man, Chris Robinson, playing the best football of his young career at quarterback. But what about his counterpart, Isaiah Green, with his Marshall squad that was picked to win Conference USA before the season starts? But if they're going to do it, they got to get a win tonight on the road. And you're watching college football on CBS Sports Network, brought to you by Geico. Huge matchup in Conference USA with Marshall coming to Boca to take on FAU. Certainly a big surprise in the East Division with Western Kentucky off to its 3-0 start with his first-year head coach. But these are the two teams in the game that you highlighted heading into the season. Hey, folks, how are you? Jason Horowitz, former Florida State quarterback Danny Cannell. Happy to have you with us here on this Friday night where everybody wants to be. The man where Danny lives, Boca Raton, Florida. Danny, when you look at this game, you circled it coming in. These were two teams thought they were going to have great years coming into the season. We're starting the second half of the year. This game's huge.
Every team sets goals before the season, and these two teams, one of their goals was to win the conference. And right now they've positioned themselves to be in that position at the end of the season, but they both know the importance of this game being in the same division, what it means to them, and how far it would advance them in that divisional race.
All right, for FAU, they've had great running backs with Devin Singletary the last couple of years. Maybe they found the new one. Malcolm Davidson went off for over 100 yards last week.
Yeah, they've been banged up a little bit earlier in the season, and they were waiting for somebody to kind of showcase and to evolve as that workhorse. And the Stallion has been that. Malcolm Davidson, I love about him, he's speed, he's fast, but he also is tough. This run here, you can see him a little hitch in his giddy-up, didn't affect him at all, still played through the toughness.
Meanwhile, for Marshall, their quarterback Isaiah Green last week in a win over Old Dominion, no interceptions, but that has been a problem this year, particularly on the road.
It has, and it's cost him a couple games, so his coaches are asking him to go out there, still do the good things, and just eliminate the bad things. Some of those mistakes are so crucial. Turnovers, we know the importance of those. They're trying to eliminate them.
All right, thunderstorms have been a problem the last couple of days here in South Florida. It's hot, it's humid, it's sticky. That's certainly here. No thunderstorms, no necessarily immediately in danger here. Doc Holliday in his 10th season leading Marshall. He's got a lot of Florida kids on this roster in this state, 9-3. As the head coach. Meanwhile, Lane Kiffin, 3rd season leading the Owls. And really, Danny, it's a contrast of styles. New school analytics for Lane Kiffin. Old school Doc Holliday, he's like, analytics, what's that?
They're polar opposites. They're totally different as far as scope, personality, approach. Love it.
All right, FAU had won the toss all 6 games this year. That ended tonight. Marshall won it and elected to receive. They'll get the ball first. Led by their quarterbacks. We check the starting lineups. Brought to you by Chick-fil-A and Isaiah Green, the redshirt sophomore who we highlighted at the beginning of this game.
Yeah, we see the 57% completion percentage. As a whole, across the country, you see guys routinely around 65 and above. So they'd like to see him get a little bit more accurate, but probably more concerning is you want to eliminate some of the interceptions. But he's exciting. He's fun to watch play. When he's on, he's pretty tough to stop.
They just need him to limit mistakes. This is a good running team. And against an FAU defense that has the propensity to give up big plays. Play action on first down to the outside. Bad throw over the head of his intended receiver, Armani Levias, but there is a flag down on the opening play. See it right there on the 40. Ken Ante is our Conference USA official.
Pass interference. Defense. 26. 15-yard penalty. Automatic first down.
Now what you're going to see, Jason, is Marshall's dealing with a lot of depleted wide receiving core, so they're going to split out some tight ends like Armani Levias here on the outside. See the contact from the FAU defender. Isaiah Green likes what he sees, knows to pick up the first down and some yardage.
All right, so a 13-yard penalty on the opening play. Levias does line up as a wide receiver, and he does here in the slot. Big man. 3 FAU tacklers. Devon Brown there, the first one to do it. The rest of the Marshall offense, you mentioned the depletion at wide receiver. Their best players, though, are their tight ends. Levias and Xavier Gaines, most versatile player.
Xavier Gaines is a guy that's really a Swiss Army knife. He does a lot of different things for this offense. Even will line up in a wildcat formation, will throw the football, he can run it, and he can catch it.
He completed a 33-yard pass last week to Brock Thompson, their best receiver, but Brock is out tonight with an injury. On second down, Green keeps it. FAU swarms to the football and another late flag. Amon Ross, the last to clean up. James Pierre started it. Let's see what the penalty is.
Personal foul, face mask. Defense, number 5. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
All right, so that is Ross with the face mask and already 28 yards and penalties on this drive.
And this FAU team has struggled over the last several years with discipline, and you see clearly the right hand getting in the face mask. This is killing this FAU defense right now, but they've been sort of a bend-don't-break style defense anyway, really when they buckle down is getting in the red zone.
106th in the country in penalty yards, FAU, about 70 a game. Meanwhile, this opening drive couldn't start any better for Isaiah Green and this Marshall offense that last week, 31-17 win against Old Dominion. And it was following a week where Danny, he threw for 375 against Middle Tennessee, but 3 interceptions cost him the game.
Yep, those mistakes are what they're trying to eliminate. For FAU defensively, it's got to be very frustrating. You know, Marshall hasn't done anything. They really haven't executed anything great. They've just gotten a couple penalties.
Dumps it down to his back, Brendan Knox. And FAU right there again. And the FAU defense, again, you mentioned the bend, don't break. Their secondary's been beaten for a lot of big plays, but Rashad Smith, best player on this defense. He has 5 takeaways himself, best among all linebackers in the FBS.
He's got really good sideline to sideline speed, covers a lot of ground, has a really good knack for the football, just figuring out how to make plays, finds a way to find the football.
All right, we talked about this. You mentioned that he can throw the football. Xavier Gaines lining up here. Isaiah Green is off the field. Hands it off to Knox. Couple of yards. But here's where this comes into play. Because they have thrown the ball twice with Xavier Gaines, including a completion last week against Old Dominion, FAU knows that's on tape. They have to watch for that.
Yep, but we talked to offensive coordinator Tim Cramsey about their Wildcat. He doesn't like the term Wildcat because he says, hey, no one throws it out of the Wildcat. We actually do.
3rd and 5. This has not been a good third down team on the year. And they have 3 tight ends on the field. 1, 2, 3. You got them all across the board, so you got matchups. Miller, Gaines, and Levias. FAU, pressure, deep shot. Incomplete. Miko Dotson in coverage, but there's the flag. A lot of contact, the intended receiver, Xavier Gaines, and we'll see if this is a 3rd huge penalty on the opening drive.
So you got number 11, Xavier Gaines at 6'3". You got Dotson in coverage. He's only 5'10". So these are the types of size mismatches that Marshall's going to look for with all these tight ends in the game. See Isaiah Green saying, hey, give us that call. We'll take another penalty to keep us moving, keep this drive alive.
Ken Ante did not turn on his microphone, but did make the announcement of a pass interference. So 2 pass interference calls on this opening drive. Personal foul, face mask, and Marshall's a yard away from the red zone. Green. That is broken up beautifully. Good diving attempt by Taven Richardson, but Pierre out in coverage almost had the football.
Yeah, he really did. Isaiah Green, pretty nice read, throws it on the outside. You see that ball bobbled in the air. Almost a turnover. This is where FAU is pretty good. They're pretty good at taking risks, getting those turnovers. Almost had one there as Doc Holliday watches on.
This is crucial for Marshall. They are an outstanding football team when they score first the last couple of years. Over the head of Armani Levias. And again, this is something they're going to struggle with. Their tight ends are good, but they're not speedy. FAU does have a lot of speed on its defense.
And that's where they've been relying so far on this drive for the big bodies to be matchups, a matchup nightmare. But that's where Isaiah Green has to trust those big bodies. Sometimes they might look covered. You just have to trust it, put it where your guy can catch it and nobody else.
And again, that's the number 41 of their last 43 that they have scored first. They have won. They don't have a deep kicker in Justin Rohasser, but they are in field goal range.
Big bodies again, tight ends, split out, trying to find some of those matchups.
Green, pocket hole. There's one of them. Gaines makes the grab inside the 15. Achilles Leroy made the tackle, not enough for the first down. 4th and 2 coming up, and they are coming out with the field goal unit.
The problem you have when you run out those tight ends and you get them and you split them out wide, they're good options, possession downs, but man, they really struggle to get those big chunk yardage that you'd like to get from a wide receiver, those yards after the catch. Use those big fellas on the outside. You're going to catch it and get tackled pretty quickly.
All right, so 4th and 2. Justin Rohrwasser perfect on the season. This is a 30-yard kick. And it is good. So we talked about Marshall scoring first. It's not a touchdown, but they are on the board first on the road. Thundering Herd, the preseason pick to win the East Division. They're out first.
College football on CBS Sports Network is sponsored by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. By Verizon, the network more people rely on. And by Chick-fil-A's new mac and cheese. It's both cheesy and crispy on top. Need we say more?
14.5-hour road trip from Huntington, West Virginia down to Boca, Florida, a little more than 1,000 miles. So yeah, it seems like a far trip, Danny, for the Thundering Herd. But 33 of Marshall's players are from the state of Florida. So yeah, it's a road trip, but it kind of seems more like a home game.
Yeah, I mean, we went with the coaches last night at the hotel where they were staying just up the road. It's like a family reunion. Everybody's there. There's a lot of ticket requests for this Marshall team. A lot of guys with a homecoming.
Doc Holliday said he has been recruiting South Florida since his first year as an assistant back in 1979 at West Virginia. And he told us last night, back then there were only 3 of us. West Virginia, Michigan, and Iowa State. Different story now. Short kickoff and the fair catch called for by FAU. It'll come out to the 25-yard line. All right, Danny, let's look at your keys to the game. Let's look at FAU on offense.
All right, when they're on offense, they better have a plan for Darius Hodge. They have to build a hedge for Hodge, so to speak. He's a terror coming off the edge. You want to slide your protections, chip your running backs, have account for him. Marshall defensively, they've been pretty good, getting a lot of sacks, a lot of pressures, but they need to create some turnovers. That's the one thing this defense has been lacking that Doc Holliday would love to see come to fruition.
They don't have an interception in any of the last 4 weeks. Chris Robinson has been playing so much better this season than last. Now as a sophomore, throws to the outside. That's caught. John Mitchell with Stephen Gilmore all over him as the starting lineups presented by Chick-fil-A. Chris Robinson last year, 12 touchdowns, 12 picks. This year, Danny, just 2 interceptions through 6 weeks.
Yeah, you saw a big jump in his play from a freshman to a sophomore, which you would love, but that's what they'll love even more, seeing this running game get going.
Davidson was tackled by Nazeeh Johnson. We highlighted Malcolm Davidson at the beginning of the broadcast. The wide receivers, Mitchell and Antoine, starting to get going, but Harrison Bryant, their tight end, the one that people look at the most, is the next level guy. Robinson dumps it down to D'Angelo Antoine, the grad transfer from USF. Nazeeh Johnson sends him out of bounds. One of the safeties of this team, Tavante Beckett, the transfer from Virginia Tech, but you mentioned Darius Hodge, tied a school record last week with 4.5 sacks in the win against Old Dominion.
He's a freakish athlete on the outside, got really good quickness off the ball, gets off the snap. They better account for him.
Robinson downfield, he's got Antoine. Makes the grab at the 36-yard line. Johnson there again for his 3rd straight tackle.
Jason, I'm noticing a difference already in Chris Robinson from this year and last year. We saw them play last year against Louisiana Tech. Robinson was a freshman, just a little bit indecisive. I love how quickly he's making decisions.
Rocks and throws. Receiver being held. There's the flag. John Mitchell working on Stephen Gilmore, and Mitchell's going to draw a pass interference.
You know, this game might feature more tight end play than any game this season. Both teams really trying to feature the tight ends. This is another big body on the outside. John Mitchell.
Defense, number
take the
34.
miss, but you can.
Ball will be placed at the spot of the foul.
I don't have to give you, Jason,
down.
the size of these 2 players. You can see it visually, and if you're a quarterback, you notice that at the line of scrimmage. Hey, if I got a 6-inch advantage on the outside, I'm going to give my guy a chance to win a one-on-one ball.
Well, just for perspective, forget the height. Mitchell weighs 220.
Right.
Gilmore weighs 165. So just the weight difference
Yes.
is 55 pounds. And that's a receiver. That's not the tight end with Bryant and Rain. Robinson, designed run. Hodge lowered the head. Check that. Tavante Beckett, first to meet him in the hole. Maybe a loss of 1. It'll bring up 2nd down. Sam Burton there as well, redshirt freshman from right here in Boca. Chris Robinson last year, much more willing to take off, more involved in the running game. But when you had Devin Singletary and Kareth White, NFL draft picks, a little bit different than what they have this year. They're not asking him to run as much. Pulls it, throws it, complete. Pico Harrison stretches for the goal line, and he's marked short down at the half-yard line on a bullet from Robinson.
Again, the quick decision-making from Robinson, really impressive so far.
And they want to go quick. Handoff, met in the hole. Great play, Tyler Brown, a fifth-year senior linebacker.
We see the RPO so many times. See Robinson sticking in the belly, and then bam, just like that, ball is past the linebacker level. Perfectly thrown ball, almost taken in. Notice the pace, Jason. FAU really going up tempo.
That's Bryant in motion. Robinson keeps it himself, looking for the edge. Touchdown, FAU! Excellent response on FAU's opening drive, right down the field, and the Owls have the lead.
All right, we just saw the RPO, Jason, the run-pass option. The first time we saw him put it in the belly, then rip it, a pass over. This time you see the quarterback run in play, sticks it in the belly, no end man on the line of scrimmage, and it's a race to that pylon, and Chris Robinson wins.
Now Vlad Rivas on for the extra point for FAU. This has been a little bit dicey. He has missed extra points in 3 of the last 4 games. And you get the huge ovation here because that's right down the middle. They call it winning in paradise. Looked pretty tropical on that drive. Eight plays, 75-yard drive for FAU with a touchdown. Chris Robinson's first rushing touchdown of the year for a 7-3 lead. Owls over the Thundering Herd. Time now for the home they built, brought to you by Rocket Mortgage, by Quicken Loans. That is the new Schmidt Family Complex, which is going to be right next to FAU Stadium. Coming to Boca by the end of this year. Construction on it. That's the part I'm most excited for. The hot tub, the ice tub, all that good stuff. I realize football players are more excited about the weight room.
No, not really. Not this one anyway. I was all about the cold tub, the hot tub. It's more like a spa atmosphere, right?
I mean, it's huge, right? I mean, anytime they're going to get an indoor practice facility, particularly here, when it's, I mean, it's 85 degrees and humid and it's mid-October. So that's a big deal here for FAU, and frankly, all the teams in Conference USA, they're starting to get some of these new facilities.
It's a massive deal. I mean, it took the University of Miami 50 years to get their indoor practice facility. This program hasn't been in existence that long, and they're already getting it, so kudos to them for getting it done.
Kickoff's going to send Evans into the end zone, so it'll come out to the 25-yard line for Marshall's second drive. Now, this is a team that we have seen a lot of tight ends, and we're going to tonight, because they've been down the receivers. Artie Henry out for the year. Obi Obialo, the transfer from Oklahoma State last year for Marshall, 42 catches. And then Brock Thompson, that's the one for tonight. He's a freshman from Indianapolis. He had 10 catches the last 2 weeks and then 6 last week for 91. But a lower body injury, didn't even make the trip for Marshall tonight. So they have to rely on their tight ends.
By necessity, you're right. You'll see a lot of 12 and 13 personnel, which is pretty unique. You'll see 12, which is 1 running back, 2 tight ends. You don't see a lot of 1 running back, 3 tight end sets, but you'll see it a lot tonight by Tim Cramsey, the offensive coordinator, because that's what he's got to do to maximize the guys he's dealt.
Pitch it out to Knox. Got a good block on the edge. Falls forward to the 29-yard line. Devon Brown, the safety, came up to make the tackle, but not before Knox picks up 4. And, you know, talking last night to Tim Cramsey about Brendan Knox, what makes him special, he said he's not going to break off 30, 40-yard runs, but he falls forward, and by the end of the game, you're going to look and say, look at all those 4, look at all those 8-yard runs, and all of a sudden he's got up close to 100 yards.
A lot of coaches will call that hidden yardage. You know, they're not the big plays. You're not going to see him out there blazing, but if every single time at the end of every run you gain an extra yard or 2, those start to add up over the course of a game.
Xavier Gaines, he's in the slot to the top. On second down, Green, pocket collapses, down he goes! Bottom of the pile, Tim Bonner, the 5th-year senior from Alabama. His 4th sack of the year for FAU.
So watch this, Jason. When you're looking at FAU's defense, you're seeing a lot of press coverage on the outside. You see Isaiah Green looking around. There's nothing there. FAU doesn't have a tremendous amount of respect right now for these big tight ends. So they're getting up close and bump coverage saying, you're not going to run by us. Look at up the top there. You see that matchup? That's not. There he goes. Now he's backing off, so you get some of that short game. which you would expect in a 3rd and 13. But most of these downs, you're not that worried about.
Well, you got 3 tight ends.
Yep,
Gaines,
but now
Miller, and Levias, but then you get Corey Gamage, who's a 6'4" receiver.
But they'll give up the short pass now.
And then they run the football.
Yep.
Knox falls forward, maybe picks up 4 yards. Leighton McCarthy making the stop. And so FAU did give up that field goal on the opening drive, but really it was all because of the 3 15-yard penalties that they had. Otherwise, Marshall, through 2 drives, hasn't really moved the football. Robert Lefevre set to kick it away, about a 41-yard average. Miko Dotson back deep to receive for the Owls. He hasn't returned a punt yet this year. High spiral kick. Dotson calls for the fair catch. Makes the grab at the 35. That's a 38-yard punt, no return. They start your football Sunday with the CBS Sports Network Tops crew as they offer unmatched analysis for each week's slate of NFL action. It's that other pregame show Sunday morning at 8 Eastern on the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. And Patrick Mahomes and his injury, dislocated kneecapping, reported all over the place today. Happened last night in the first half against the Broncos. But I'll tell you what, you want a good backup, Danny Cannell. Matt Moore is a guy. He's led a lot of teams as a backup, and he's the guy that took over last night.
Yeah, I think they had a best-case scenario with the reports out that he's going to be back sooner rather than later, probably 3 or 4 weeks. That's the best-case scenario with how scary that was when that went down last night.
Robinson, deep shot, opening play, and he overshot Mitchell. Gilmore out in coverage, matchup to watch all night long for Chris Robinson, who is having a sensational sophomore season. The quarterback from Mesquite, Texas. Last year, 12 interceptions, and then this offseason, he was suspended for spring practice after allegations made of sexual battery back in December. But they were then withdrawn a week after they were made. The school investigated. They cleared him of all charges. He was reinstated in June. And Danny, he said the thought of losing football really what has changed his game to make this, as he's gone down for a 3-yard loss, a much more different and important season for him.
Yeah, you grow up a lot, you know, even through your college years, and I think that's what you've seen out of Chris Robinson, both on the field and off the field. And I've noticed it early on, just in his play. Like, again, I referenced it earlier. We saw him play last year, looked a little bit frazzled, looked like it was a little bit overwhelmed. This year, a much different story.
It's 3rd and long. Marshall brings the heat. Robinson drill over the middle. It's caught. Sliding grab made by Mitchell right in front of Kerryon Morrell, and that's good for 15 and a first down.
You know, Lane Kiffin's not afraid to go back to a hot hand, and it seems early that John Mitchell is going to be a big part of this game plan for FAU, the big target on the outside.
All of this so far without Bryant. Robinson kept it, faked everyone out. That's going to draw a flag.
No, it's not.
Kerryon Morrell tripped over John Mitchell before the ball got there.
What are you doing? What are you doing
throw.
playing official here? Watch this coverage. This was actually pretty good coverage and a heck of a throw, almost completed. I think he did a pretty good job with the offhand.
You're not serious, are you?
I am being 100% serious. I thought that was step-for-step coverage.
We're going to have to go back to that.
We will. We'll see who's right.
I'm just saying
and
what everybody watching was saying.
Out.
Antoine is drilled. The ball is loose.
That's an incomplete.
Incomplete on the field. Big time hit by Micah Abraham, and Antoine wants to tap out.
Boy, this ball was trouble from the get-go. You saw Chris Robinson really floated over the defensive line. While that ball's in the air, that puts the back in a really tough spot because you're sitting under that ball saying, come on, hurry up, get to me, get to me, get to me. Meanwhile, Micah Abraham was on a beeline for the back. Nice play.
Excellent job by him to move his head out of the way to make sure there's no targeting there. He definitely moved his head over to the shoulder. So 3rd and 10. Coussart came in for Antoine, bottom of the screen in the slot. Robinson escapes the pocket. Giving chase, looking downfield, throws, and it's low. Bryant, the intended receiver. Marquise Couch was in coverage, and it's 4th down.
So a couple times tonight, we've seen some pretty good pressure from Marshall's front. We knew about Darius Hodge, number 44. Their other interior linemen doing a pretty good job playing on the other side of the line of scrimmage, making Chris Robinson uncomfortable.
One of the 40 Australian starting punters in college football, Matt Hayball, who wasn't scheduled to be the starting punter this year, but Sebastian Riella in camp hurt his knee while blocking on a fake field goal in scrimmage. Lefty boot. Keaton makes it at the 10. He's a dangerous return man, breaks a tackle, and picks up 13 on the return. Talik Keaton's got a punt return for a touchdown this year and helping out the Thundering Herd on the road. Better field position coming up. Marshall trailing 7-3 here in Boca. Well, Marco has seen a lot of great players in the history of Marshall football. 150 years of college football, but I'm not sure there has ever been a player in Huntington, West Virginia better than Randy Moss, whose first career game against an FBS opponent came in his second year there, 97, a couple of touchdowns against West Virginia. And Doc Holliday, who was an assistant towards the end of his tenure at West Virginia before moving on to NC State there in 1997. Marshall had the lead in that game, and we talked to Coach Holliday last night about seeing Randy Moss, and he said there just aren't guys built like that, and there aren't many people who aren't quarterbacks who just make your jaw drop when you watch them play football. Third drive, handoff, different running back. That's Sheldon Evans, breaks off a long run, gets it out to the 40. It's an 18-yard pickup.
And that's what this Marshall offense has been lacking so far tonight, to take some of the load off Isaiah Green. See Evans get to the outside, breaks one tackle, picks up a nice gain. We can talk about all these tight ends and everything. They're great and all, but establishing the line of scrimmage is what this offense needs to do.
They trying it right through the middle again. Rashad Smith there in the bottom of the pile with his linebacking tight end, Achilles Leroy. And this offensive line for Marshall too, Danny, this is a strength. All of these guys at least second-year starters. This is a group that was questioned earlier this year after they lost to Cincinnati 52-14, but they played better last week against Old Dominion. Green, pocket collapses again. Down he goes. Khalif Bryce, second sack for FAU here in the opening quarter.
FAU getting after Isaiah Green. Watch Isaiah Green's eyes. He's looking down the field, then notices that pressure. All those red jerseys flash in front of his eyes. You got to get that pocket firmed up because he has nowhere to step up, nowhere to escape to. That FAU defense, a magnificent job filling all those gaps, not allowing them to get outside.
Now, Marshall had only given up 10 sacks the first 6 games this season. Already 2 for this Owls defense here in the opening 11.5 minutes, and this is 3rd and 18 for an offense playing without most of its receivers. Pressure again. Green, a great job just to get the ball off to Talik Keaton, but can't get back to the original line of scrimmage. Chris Tooley out there in coverage, and I'll bring up 4th down. The Thundering Herd has to punt again.
So this is a slip screen. You're going to see the offensive lineman slip out, try to get out in front of the wide receiver, but in the process, you saw the center kind of Olay block the nose tackle. You got to get a little bit more of a piece of them there. That's why Isaiah Green almost didn't get that ball off, but FAU's defense doing a pretty good job so far tackling in the open field.
The Fever, bad punt. Takes an FAU bounce. It's down by the punter. The Fever at the 44. That's never a good sign.
No, you don't see that too often. He's like, hold on, my average is declining as I'm watching the ball bounce towards you.
Only 20 yards on the punt. Well, you talk about out-kicking your coverage. This is under-kicking your coverage.
Yes.
Well, how about FAU? Opening drive for Chris Robinson. He was a perfect 4 for 4. They went right down the field, 75 yards. But then 1 of 5 on the last drive. Marshall started to get pressure on the redshirt sophomore.
I'd like to see them get back to establishing both these teams. We saw Marshall attempt it. They had one good run. Both these teams getting a little bit pass happy early. I'd like to see FAU try to run the ball a little bit more on this drive.
Larry McCammon III was the back, but a sack. Jamari Edwards last week had his first sack of his career, and the redshirt sophomore from Miami just picked up another one.
How many sacks did they have last week, Jason? 8.5? 8? This is going to be a big problem for FAU. If they cannot get up front, get it done, Chris Robinson's going to be running for his life all day long. They made some changes along the offensive line to try to shore it up. It's been inconsistent throughout the year. Got to get some quick game, get the ball out of his hands.
Marshall with pressure up the middle. Robinson, wide open receiver. That's his tight end, John Rain, inside the 10 and down at the 1-yard line.
Nothing neutralizes a pass rush like the quick game. This ball gets out of Chris Robinson's hand really, really fast. That's just a couple verticals, and you catch the tight end running up the seam. Remember, we talked about the tight ends for both teams.
61-yard pass play leads to a touchdown. Larry McCammon III, his 6th score of the year. The LED lights going off here in Boca, thanks to John Rain with his longest catch of his career.
That's as easy as it gets. After the big play, FAU got up to the line of scrimmage as fast as they can. And if you're watching at home, that is not a problem with your television. That is the LED lights you mentioned, and punch it in quickly.
How about Rain with the lead block on the touchdown run? You make a 61-yard grab. You're not upset that you're down at the 1. You help your teammate get in there. Danny, John Rain's average on catches this year is 6.5 yards a catch. This will help.
Yes, it will. Big plays coming right up the seam, and you're going to see the defense shift over the top, which presents a mismatch for Chris Robinson. Just running right up the seam. This is pretty easy. See a couple verticals, and that's really a busted coverage there for Marshall. Just losing sight of where the tight end is. He's got to be accounted for running free. That's an easy touchdown for FAU.
Deep kick, Evans bring it out to the 25 again. Well, so now you got a problem if you're Marshall. So far tonight, just 33 yards of offense. FAU came into this game and Lane Kiffin winning 4 straight, hottest team in Conference USA. It's a team that's starting to feel good about itself offensively and a team that's out to prove something defensively.
Oh, without question. And you know, this team started off 0-2. Lost to some really good football teams, and that can be a gut check time, especially after having a rough year, didn't live up to the hype last year. You wonder where a team is mentally. We talked to several of their players and said, this team is different. There's something different about this FAU team. Chris Robinson, Harrison Bryant, these guys said, no, we were gonna stay together, and they didn't let it bother them, didn't let it faze them, and now they got a really good thing going.
Marshall's got to sustain a drive.
Yep.
Green looking for a back shoulder, a lot of contact, Tooley in coverage, and there's the flag. Again, looking for one of his tight ends, Armani Levias. Well, this is how Marshall has gotten its offense tonight. 3 of its 4 first downs have been on penalties.
You know, Armani Levias on the outside, manned up against its safety there. You see him, point of contact, there is a lot of contacts. Good call by the officials, but here's the thing, Jason, I don't mind it. Like, you have to do this.
Pass interference. Defense, number 26. Ball will be placed at the spot of the foul. Automatic first down.
But eventually FAU is going to figure out, hey, they can't beat us over the top. Just stay in good position and keep your hands off of them. And these are really low percentage throws, throwing these fade routes, 50-50 balls to tight ends that are split out like wide receivers. They're not used to playing that position. A little bit concerned about how Marshall's going to generate much of a pass game working with these 3 tight end sets.
Knox, jump cut in the backfield, gets out to the 41-yard line. He's chased down by Bryce. Your keys for Marshall when they're on offense.
They got to figure out a way to get offense out of their tight end, specifically Xavier Gaines. He's that Swiss Army knife that does a lot of different things. You'll see him in the Wildcat. You'll see him run the football as a ball carrier. So they got to get him going. And then FAU defensively, they take a lot of risks, which is great. They get a lot of sacks, get some turnovers, but they're also susceptible to the big play. So far, they haven't given it up. They got to make sure they don't give up the big play tonight.
Green dumps it down. It's too high for Levias.
All right,
and again, everything's right at the line of scrimmage.
Yes, exactly. But that play right there specifically is what they want to see. Consistency is something they talked about. This is basically an extended handoff. It's a little RPO. You flip it to the outside. Worst case, you're thinking you get a catch and you carry it for a couple yards, but you have to complete that ball. There was no pressure on Isaiah Green. You got to give him a catchable ball.
Look how close FAU's defense is towards the line of scrimmage. There's nobody back deep.
They are not intimidated at all by these big bodies on the outside. See tight end, and defense. Another one here. They're not worried about getting beat over the top.
Pressure up the middle. Good throw, and Levias carrying defenders. Gets a block. Levias racing towards the end zone. You wanted a big play, and your tight end just broke one off for 59 yards.
There we go. Isaiah Green gives him a nice catchable ball. FAU said wasn't worried about the back end. That makes them susceptible to that big play. Remember, risk versus reward? They took the risk with the blitz. That puts all the secondary on an island. They have to make those open field tackles. They don't. They give up the big play.
That was a rumble
Yes,
from the fifth-year senior from Pittsburgh, California.
I'm an idiot because I was like, man, they're not going to be able to get big plays with these big fellas. Then they get the big one from Armani Levias.
Well, look, the reality for them is they've been leaning on their tight ends all year. Levias came into the game leading Marshall with 18 catches. Xavier Gaines was second with 17. Levias did have a 75-yarder a couple of weeks ago, but this is strength from your big man.
Yep, and I was just giving Isaiah Green a hard time about not giving his tight end a catchable ball. That ball was perfectly thrown right in stride for Levias so he could continue on the move.
Well, here's the other thing,
Look
too.
Look at 3 defenders. Those big tight ends are hard to bring down.
That's the other part. Watch where he drops the football. Is it before the end zone?
No, he's over. But why? All right, so don't get me started on this, Jason, because this drives me insane. Why even make it close? He was in, but what is the obsession with dropping it close? I have no idea. Imagine Doc Holliday's reaction if that wasn't a touchdown.
Well, he'd have to see it. I'm guessing Holliday wouldn't have seen it now, how close it was now.
No, I know. He'll be fine.
Look, it's a fifth-year senior with a redshirt sophomore quarterback, and what did they tell us yesterday about Isaiah Green? He is one of the most level-headed players they have had. The word used was cocky, but in a pleasant way,
yes.
was the phrase. Rowasser's kick into the end zone.
Kickoff to the back of the end zone for a touchdown.
So a touchback in the ball for Robinson, bringing it out to the 25-yard line.
All right, so you're going to see a little safety rotation back, which presents man-to-man opportunities on the outside. And then you just get a little slant right here on the bottom from Levias. This is a pretty nice throw and catch. You bring pressure. They still have the safety back, even with the blitz. But you got to make that tackle in the open field. Again, you have to avoid the big plays. Make this Marshall defense drive the length of the field. You can't make it that simple on them.
Glenn Spencer, former defensive coordinator at Charlotte, hired this year to be the defensive coordinator and take over. Trying to get this defense in swagger back, which they had last year. A couple-yard run by Davidson, Jamari Edwards, the tackle. They had all that swagger a couple of years ago. This was a team that started 1-3 in 2017. Then they got into Conference USA play and didn't lose, right? Reeled off 10 consecutive wins, including the championship game and a bowl game. They won 11 games. Now, Devin Singletary got a lot of credit. He had 32 touchdowns. Robinson, design run, and absolutely nowhere to go. Tavante Beckett, leading tackler, who had 60 coming into the game, and it'll bring up third down.
This FAU offensive line is struggling up front. This is a designed quarterback draw, and you see penetration right away. Nowhere to run for Chris Robinson. Yeah, we saw he's got to get rid of the football quickly like he did on the touchdown pass. And that one, they've got to do a better job creating some sort of hole for him to run to. He had nowhere to go.
Now, they don't have to snap it again. They could let the quarter go, but they are.
This offense, they're going to go.
Swings it out. That's catch Davidson trying to get the first down, and he's brought down, not going to get there. Omari Cobb, middle linebacker, the senior from Florida. And that's how the quarter's going to come to an end. FAU, an explosive play from its tight end. Marshall's got one as well, and we got a good ball game. End of the first quarter, 14-10. FAU's got the lead.
Get that selfie, baby. That's a good one right there.
College football on CBS Sports Network, presented by Geico. Start of the second quarter, this important Conference USA matchup, FAU up 14-10 as we take a look at tonight's quarterback comparison brought to you by Sonic. Those two guys, the co-freshman offensive players of the year last year in Conference USA. This season has been a major improvement for Robinson coming into the night. Isaiah Green as well. He has thrown a touchdown tonight, also runs the football. That's important for Marshall. And this is the other part to it. I mean, tonight, it's been no turnovers. And that's crucial for both of these guys.
I didn't hear a word you said because I'm so distracted by Robinson having his earpiece.
That bothers you?
Yeah, or his mouthpiece in his ear.
Why does that bother
it's resourceful. It's resourceful. I mean, I get mine used to fall on the ground. I guess it doesn't fall on the ground if you put it in your ear.
A-ball boots it.
I'm sure you had great information, though.
Fair catch by Keaton. Well, yours used to be like 3 pounds, though. The mouthpieces have kind of changed over
That's
time.
Right. I actually didn't wear one. I kept getting in trouble from the officials. But yeah, see that? Very, very resourceful. You
Well,
don't
it's
have to worry
also
about it.
in all fairness, I mean, that also is kind of gross.
I wasn't going to go there, but
I mean, it's better than what Steph Curry does with his mouthpiece.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like chewing on it, making you want to regurgitate a little bit.
Yeah. No, but what you were saying about both these quarterbacks as sophomores kind of going against each other, there is such an evolution and such a growth that takes place from your first year starting to your second. And I think you're seeing that out of both these quarterbacks this season.
All right, a couple of wide receivers on the field for Marshall at the bottom of your screen. Willie Johnson's a deep threat. David Richardson as well. Green looking that way, taking a shot. Open man, he dropped it. Willie Johnson got past Zion Gilbert. He was wide open and it hit him in the hands.
So this was a little fake kind of bubble screen on the outside, and the guy that's supposed to be blocking just slipped right past the defense. And that is a tough drop there from Willie Johnson on the outside. That one keep you awake in your dorm room at night. Like, oh man, I could have had a 80-yard touchdown potentially. That's a tough one.
Well, he's the speedster. He's a 21-yard per catch guy. So Green keeps it back to the ground game. Bonner the first there. Price as well. No gain, so 3rd and 10, and this has been the story for Marshall tonight. 4 third downs in the opening quarter. The average, Danny, was 3rd and 12.
Yeah, and you know how you always hear the cliche term, you want to keep it manageable, right? 3rd down and manageable. These are tough as you look at offensive coordinator Tim Cramsey. These are tough to call, to dial up, especially when you're struggling with protection, both these teams.
Miller, Gaines, and Levias. Again, the 3 tight ends. Levias up to the top. That's your 255-pounder. Gaines more of a receiver body, but listed as a tight end. FAU only brings 3. Quick throw. That's caught for Xavier Gaines, but FAU makes the stop. Gang tackled. Miko Dotson the tackle. And 4th down and about 3 coming up.
The other thing, when you have those 3rd and long situations, the defense knows where the chains are too, so they're going to keep everybody in front of them. That time FAU rushed 3 and dropped 8 into coverage, and you come up and make a tackle and force them to punt.
The Fever's last punt went 20 yards. Downed it himself. Dante Coussart back deep to receive, the 5th-year walk-on. Earned a scholarship last year. This one, line drive. Coussart calls for the fair catch on the run. Makes it at the 20. Much better punt from Lefevre. 49 yards. No return. FAU, offense got the lead. Can they get the groove going again? 25 touchdowns. Danny, the record for most touchdown passes at LSU is 28. But who's your leader?
Right there, Joe Burrow is going to win the Heisman Trophy.
Oh, no questions?
I think he's going to win the Heisman Trophy. Of course, it's going to come down to that matchup between Tua and him in Tuscaloosa when they face off against each other.
Leave it to a quarterback who only sees one position. I'll see the other guys.
It's the most important position in the game.
Jonathan Taylor is on pace for 39 total touchdowns this year. He had 16 last year. He's got 18 in 6 games.
It's a cool story.
What a cool story.
No, it's great, but he's not a quarterback. It's a quarterback-driven award, whether you like it or not.
Robinson is the quarterback. Hodge tries to get after him down the field. That's low. Gilmore was in on coverage for Pico Harrison. Now, I'm pretty sure Chris Robinson can't do everything by himself. Yes, he's the quarterback.
No, and he's trying to, but you see here on the outside, maybe got away with a little hold at the top of that route, playing a little bit of catch-up, and another hold there at the end. Now, the other one, you wanted the pass interference. I thought it was good coverage. That one, a little more contact they got away with.
I see. When you start talking about quarterbacks not getting what they want. Davidson, Tavante Beckett, met at the line and driven back. Marshall's defense starting to play better. That opening drive, they struggled. They gave up the 61-yard pass to Rain on that 3rd possession. but the inconsistent drives for Lane Kiffin here.
Notice the time of possession, too. They go so fast, up-tempo all the time. If you get a 3 and out, man, it really puts your defense in a tough spot. And Brad Lambert, the defensive coordinator for Marshall, has to be liking what he's seeing in some of these situations, 3rd and long.
Pressure up again. Robinson, pump fake. Hodge giving chase. Robinson has to eat it and get out of bounds. So a 3 and out again. Hodge off of 4.5 sacks last week, starting to beat his man off the line.
Yeah, we talked to Brad Lambert. He said he was going to pressure on 2nd down to force them into these longer type situations. This is a coverage pressure. Chris Robinson, see him looking down the field, surveying, couldn't find somebody to go to, ultimately tried to pick it up. And I think the reason Lane Kiffin's having a little talk with him there, going through the coverage, but also this team is not afraid to go for it on 4th down, deep in their own territory. I wonder if Lane was talking about finding a check down, giving yourself a 4th and 2 or 3, where I know it sounds crazy, but Lane Kiffin has done it before. He is not afraid to go from it backed up in his own territory.
Lefty boot for Hayball. Angled it all the way, and yes, that hit an FAU player, so it rolls, but it's down at the 20, but it's gonna come back closer to the 40-yard line.
I thought they might have gotten away with it, but the official did throw his little beanbag that shows where the contact was made.
What if Tua Tagovailoa outplays Joe Burrow in Tuscaloosa? You're still giving it to Joe Burrow?
No, I think Joe Burrow's going to outplay him, but you're right. If Tua outplays Joe Burrow, you give it to his favor. But Joe Burrow already has more Heisman moments so far against Texas, against Florida. Yeah, for sure.
All right, how about Marshall's quarterback, Isaiah Green? He's been pressured, but he's made the plays and he hasn't made the mistakes.
Well, you can see the upside. You can see why his coaches are excited about him. If you just get a little bit more consistency, which you're getting tonight, you can see why he's such a threat with the football in his hands.
Oh, and this is his best field position by far. Out at the 39 to start this drive. He hands it off. Sheldon Evans already broke off an 18-yarder. Mark him down at the 44 before Leroy made the stop.
I love what you said earlier when we talked to Tim Cramsey about Isaiah Green being a cocky quarterback. And he said, I mean that in the best way. Like, I'm not saying he's cocky is a bad thing. He has all the confidence in his abilities, and he doesn't let anything affect him. Because quarterback, it can be a bumpy ride. You have ups and downs. Said he never lets it bother him, which is a great trait to have as a quarterback.
That's Keaton in motion. That's Gaines who took the snap, knew where the first down was. There is a flag down back at the 46. Xavier Gaines, again, the most versatile player all over. That's the 2nd time he has taken a snap.
Offense, number 79. 10-yard penalty for the spot of the foul. 2nd down.
It's Josh Ball who has come in at left tackle.
Right here, keep an eye on that jersey right in your screen. Ball gets him on the outside. You see that? You see the line judge coming in right there? The official saw it all the way. Brought back would have been a nice chunk of yardage for Marshall.
So Tim Cramsey's team backed up here on 2nd and 14.
Again, a lot of opportunities on the outside with press coverage.
Green's back at quarterback. His top pocket holds. Taking the shot downfield again for Willie Johnson. Had a step on the defender Zion Gilbert, but overthrown, so 3rd and long again.
You know, FAU gives up a lot of big plays on the year, and I can see why. They are aggressive on the outside, play a lot of man coverage, and just say, go ahead and try to beat us. That's a touchdown if that throw is perfect. Now, it's a tough throw to make, and obviously you saw them miss that, but FAU's like, go ahead, take those shots. We'll get more stops or turnovers, then you'll hit big plays. This time in a 3rd and long, you'll probably see that rush 3 and drop 8 into coverage.
They're not afraid to run the ball on 3rd down.
1, 2, 3, and then you're going to see all the rest. Now they are going to come with pressure.
And they are going to run the football.
Yep.
They went right into it. Nowhere to go. Leroy's having a heck of a season at the middle linebacker spot for the Owls this year. The junior from Albany, Georgia, and it's 4th down.
Yeah, that wasn't pressure. That was reacting to the run. Those linebackers who were getting ready to drop into coverage. That's a safe call, and I understand it. You know, 3rd and long, there's not a lot of good options. Say, hey, our defense is doing a pretty good job. We'll punt it away.
Fever banged one for 49 on the last kick. No return. This one's end over end, and Dotson might have a chance, but he lets it bounce. So it's going to be inside the 20. Another 48-yard punt. FAU's defense giving up one play, and that's it tonight. Owls have the lead. Four-point lead for FAU over Marshall here. 9.5 to go in the second quarter as we take an eye on college football, brought to you by Simply Safe. Appalachian State ranked for just the second time in school history, unbeaten so far on the season. Missouri still winning. They're at Vanderbilt this weekend, but they're still waiting to hear whether or not they're going to be allowed to play in the postseason. And 1904. Danny, you know the only team that's consistent with that year and this year? Minnesota.
Ah, the Gophers. The Gophers are going to be 8-0 too. When they set up a matchup at Penn State. Penn State's got a tough one with Michigan coming to town.
D'Angelo Antoine on the sweep, and he's got nowhere to go. Omari Cobb ran it down the line of scrimmage. No gain.
Oh, this is your favorite part, isn't it? The favorite part of the stadium? The little cabanas set up in the end zone?
What's better than watching a game
suite?
At the Copa Cabana?
That's a great setup. You're right at the field level. You can either have your family or you can have bottle service, whatever you want.
Bottles of water, of course.
Yes, of course.
It's 90 degrees with humidity. Robinson way too far out there. Tyler Brown out in coverage, and this offense starting to slow down.
Yep.
It looks like they kind of sat in the cabana for a little bit.
Yes, it did. You're talking about Isaiah Green being inconsistent. That ball was probably a throwaway, would be my guess. Chris Robinson designed little screen, saw the defender breaking on it, said, hey, let me throw this away. Now, keep in mind, I know they're backed up. Do not be surprised if they don't throw it past the chains, but instead try to keep it manageable.
Marshall brings four. Robinson looking for Antoine. Caught it backwards. Turned around. Basket catch in front of Nazeeh Johnson. And they hit the big shot.
Or they just go for the big shot. See, outstanding focus on the football. And that's pretty good coverage from Marshall. But that just goes to show you there is no defense for the perfectly thrown ball when you got a receiver making plays like that. Defense player is really helpless in that spot.
FAU always likes to go fast after big hitters. Robinson again back to the air. Pressure up the middle. He gets hit. Now he goes down.
Throw it away. Find a way to just get rid of that ball. Throw it out of bounds. Keep your team out of this situation. I'm sure that's what Lane Kiffin will have a conversation with Robinson when they watch this film. Trying to go the big play strike back to back. You saw that pump fake. But then right there, find a way to throw it away. He's pretty athletic, Chris Robinson is. Get rid of that football instead of taking the sack and finding yourself in this second and forever situation.
Kobe Cumberlander on the sack. So last week for Marshall, you're talking about 8 sacks, tied for the second most in school history and the most for them in 15 years. And they got a couple here in the second quarter. Robinson on 2nd and 22. That's Hames off the edge. He takes off. Hames makes the tackle with Rodney Krug. And so 3rd and super long again for FAU.
Robinson running for his life a lot of this night. Find your check down. See the running back right in your screen at the top left? Find him. Let those guys take all the hits. You're the quarterback. Get it in their hands. Let them take the hits.
But it's only the quarterback that can win the Heisman. Let the other guys make the plays, but only the QB can win the Heisman.
Yes. I know Chris Robinson is pretty athletic, but find a way to get to your check down. Again, those are kind of lost yardages here on this drive. You take the sack, you try to scramble, you only get a couple yards.
FAU
to go with the football.
FAU leads, 7 minutes to go. Pressure comes, looking for the screen. Davidson can't grab it. It wasn't going to get the first down anyway. So 4th down again for the Owls.
That was the play. That was the defense you want. When you run a screen, you love seeing a blitz come your way. Because if you could just get it past that first wave of rushers, then there's a lot of grass to run towards. Got to find a way to make that catch.
Tell you what, Brad Lambert, who was the head coach at Charlotte for the 6 years when the program began until he was let go in December last year, he said that Doc Holliday was the first call he got, but at the time, Holliday didn't have a job open. And then when his defensive coordinator left, he offered Brad Lambert the job, and he's done a good job with this team tonight. with the exception of a couple of big plays. Fair catch called for by Keaton at the 20. You know, you've had points, but it feels like a little bit of a defensive struggle.
College football on CBS Sports Network is sponsored by Sonic, home of the Junior Garlic Butter Bacon Burger. By Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Push button, get mortgage. And by Ice Cold Dr. Pepper, the official drink of Fansville.
The FAU team manager is very active on Twitter. They had a video a couple weeks ago of an Indiana Jones type situation trying to run through a closing garage. It works when you get under the garage before it closes, but the managers did smack their face on the floor.
I love it. Managers are the lifeblood of every team. They're the guys that do the grunt work, that get your uniforms clean, get you ready for practice. Always love the managers.
Isaiah Green keeps it absolutely nowhere to go. I mean, it's Bonner. Check that. That is Norton, Damian Horton.
It's kind of interesting the way this game is unfolding because we're seeing both defenses really step up and generate a lot of pressure on these quarterbacks. And you're seeing both quarterbacks struggle to find the time to pass, but when they do, they've been on a couple big plays. So you're kind of seeing similar situations unfold for both teams.
And nobody able to run the football. Now, yes, sacks do take away from your rushing yardage, but even if you take the sack yards away, neither team has 30 yards rushing. Only three-man rush. Levias on the short grab. Three different Owls led by Rashad Smith to make the tackle as we dip inside of 6 minutes. Marshall had the opening drive. They kicked the field goal. FAU responded with a couple of touchdowns. Levias had a 61-yard touchdown. And that's how we get to 14-10 with third and long coming up.
Where's our X-Man? Right there. Xavier Gaines. That's been the guy they wanted to go to. He's sort of their do-everything guy. And notice the respect they're paying. Look at how much further off they are on him than everybody else.
Well, you got Dotson at the bottom of your screen in the corner with 4 picks. He's working on Levias, and he gives up 45 pounds. Green dancing out of the pocket. Sends a man downfield. Intercepted! He was looking for Xavier Gaines. And Leroy came out of the pile with the pick.
All right, Jason, so we drew Xavier Gaines before the snap. This play was designed to go to him, but the problem is Green gets stuck on him. Then he says, hey, I'm gonna make a play to him work, and when you throw late, you're gonna get toasted. So watch where this play comes open early. Watch the initial cut, it's open. But Green is just a little bit hesitant, gets flushed in the pocket. If you freeze it right now, he's coming across and he's open right there, but it's too late by that time. That ball's already got to be gone. Green's running around and says, hey, I can make this throw. He looks open then, but that is a bad late decision from Isaiah Green. That was that consistency we're talking about. Some of those turnovers really put him in a bad spot.
And new quarterback, this is not new for tonight. They've been doing this the last couple of weeks. Nick Stronny, the redshirt sophomore, originally at Indiana. He has been coming in for packages. More of the running quarterback. He has thrown the ball 4 times this year, but his goal is to do what we talked about, which is run the football.
And we haven't been able to do it out of a regular set, so why not bring another quarterback, let him utilize his wheels.
And he keeps it himself again, gets inside the 20. So Nick Trani, a couple of plays, he's close to the marker. Needed the 16. Green with his first turnover of the night, his 6th pick of the year. And that was enough on that run for a first down for FAU.
And with Tronti, they'll run a lot of RPO type looks where you see the quarterback put it in the running back's belly. He'll hold it in there a long time reading it.
And that's Jordan Brooks West, who was going in motion. Trani kept it and lost a yard. Marshall safety Brandon Drayton. Rain's starting to fall a little bit here. Some of the fans starting to head for cover. That's nothing. You and I walked through a torrential downpour yesterday. Did. Where are they going?
Come on, they're Floridians. They got to suck it up. This isn't rain. It'll be interesting to see what they do if they don't get this.
Robinson back in now, quarterback, the handoff to Davidson. So they are in the Verizon red zone, where FAU has been very successful on the season. They have gotten there 25 times this year heading into the night, scoring on 24 of them, and 72% touchdown is top 25 in the nation. They've gotten there a couple of times tonight as well. They've scored touchdowns on those trips to the red zone. 3rd and 8. For a coach who's not afraid to go for it, if they pick up 5 or 6 yards here, they might think about it. Robinson pressured out of the pocket. Brown giving chase, looking towards the end zone, and he throws it behind John Rain. Brandon Drayton in coverage, and that'll bring on the kicking team.
This is a pretty good coverage. You're seeing Robinson get flushed out from the pressure, trying to find somebody. I thought he was going to go to Mitchell in the back of the end zone. That would have been a tough throw. That ball a little bit underthrown, but clearly pretty good coverage there from the secondary of Marshall.
So that's a win for Marshall's defense.
No
Green
doubt.
through the interception. FAU started inside the Marshall 30. And Vlad Rivas lining up for a 32-yard kick. High snap. It's put down well by Hayball, and it is good. We talked about FAU's defense starting to play with some swagger, and they've been picking off a lot of passes the last couple of weeks. Leroy's pick. You get the bat.
Oh, I love the bat. Hit a home run.
Now, level-headed quarterback Isaiah Green coming off the interception. Gonna have to bounce back with 3:04, maybe a half-ending drive. Coming up in the half, brought to you by Verizon. Brent Stover, Rick Neuheisel, Houston Nutt, and Kevin Cardinal get you caught up on tonight's action. Pittsburgh's up at the Carrier Dome, taking on Syracuse. Ohio State about to kick off at Northwestern. It's all coming up. Then later on tonight here on CBS Sports Network, UNLV, Fresno State. Buddies Carter Blackburn, Aaron Taylor, and Jenny Dell will have the call later on tonight as soon as we are done. Buckeyes looking like the best team in college football?
One of them, absolutely. I think Bama, Ohio State, LSU, Clemson.
Yeah.
I think they're all playing at elite level right now.
Don't forget about Wisconsin.
Yep,
It's
Wisconsin,
4 shutouts
absolutely.
in 6 games. Fair catch called for, but you got to get the football. Evans makes the scamper, a late flag as well. Now, he called for a fair catch. If you call for the fair catch and don't grab the football, when you botch a fair catch call on a kickoff, it's supposed to be down where you grab it. Now, he didn't touch it. The ball hit the ground first, but he still called for that fair catch.
Holding, return team number 10. 10-yard penalty from spot of the foul. First down.
That was
He
a.
had it down.
Don't forget to turn your mic off. That was a half-hearted fair catch signal, right?
But that's exactly what he said to Lane
Right.
Kiffin. He had his hand down, is what he was just saying, as it not called. Now there's the hold.
Right in the middle of your screen, pretty obvious hold.
But Ken Ante is going over to talk to Lane Kiffin because he's saying, look,
Right.
if he calls for the fair catch and grabs it at the 5, the ball should be at the 5. Now
Right.
it's at the 10 after the penalty.
I think that's
anyway.
why Lane Kiffin is mildly upset, right? I think he'd be much more livid if they had the ball out past the 20.
Well, now the officials are having a conversation here. Here's Ken Ante again.
Previous play is under review.
So that play is coming up to the replay official, Remus Kozica. And so that's exactly what we were just talking about. They are reviewing whether or not Sheldon Evans put his hand up for a fair catch.
Which it wasn't. Again, you're supposed to be very clear-cut. Hey, I'm calling a fair catch. It was a little bit half-hearted.
Well, but
it doesn't
remember last year when they put this
There it
rule
is.
in place.
Yep.
When they put this rule in place last year, one of the
After review,
conversations.
receiver gave an invalid fair catch signal. Ball will be placed at the spot where he gained possession. There's no foul on the play. First down.
So They are going to move it back.
At the 7-yard line.
They are going to move it back to where
yards.
he touched the football.
Yes,
Yeah.
3 yards.
Yeah.
That was a lot for 3 yards, but still, it's back in your own territory. That's a much different
Well,
spot.
also, if there's
and they
no,
get it right.
if there's no penalty, the ball was at the 20.
Yeah, but there
that's the
was a
point.
penalty.
No,
You know what
of
I'm saying?
course.
Like, that just wasted us 3 minutes for 3 yards.
Yeah.
But if you're Lane Kiffin, you want him back, you've been getting pressure, maybe get a safety, those 3 yards could add up.
Well, he's got, listen, FAU gets the football to start the second half.
Yep.
You still have 3 minutes. You still have 3 timeouts.
Yeah.
You get a 3 and out.
3
You're going to get
yards.
the ball back, a lot of time and great field
For sure.
position.
Absolutely.
Green back on the field after a pick. Hands it off. Knox with a huge hole. Forget the penalty. Knox out over the 25. He's off to the races at the 40. And Knox finally shoved out at midfield. 43 yards for
All right.
Brendan Knox.
Look at all the pressure, all those red jerseys. They're trying to go for that knockout blow to get that safety. The problem with that is, if you get past that first wave of defenders, you're susceptible. Remember I said risk versus reward? They took the risk, they didn't get the reward, and even worse, they got burned for a big gain.
Marshall had 107 yards of offense in the half before that play. Again, to the right side, falls forward. James Pierre made the tackle. He picked up 4, 2:25 and counting. All 3 timeouts for Marshall.
You got all day if you're Marshall. You're not worried about the clock at all. You can take your time, kind of run your normal tempo down the field, and even probably think about, hey, you can use a lot of the clock. Don't give FAU a chance to get it back.
Now, Roasser last week hit a career-long 45. Green this time pulls it and keeps it. He gets to the 43, 3rd and 3 coming up. Pierre made the stop, playing closer to the line, the cornerback. They have been 3rd and on average 13. What do you do as a coordinator when you haven't seen a 3rd and 3 all night?
You're loving it because you're going to your first favorite play call on 3rd and 3.
Rain continues to fall here in Boca. 1:30 to go.
Remember, Jason, big bodies, tight ends. That's what they're going to have to go to tonight. Or run.
Knox falls forward. He's close to the line. FAU pushes him back. Karan Hafiz, Rashad Smith, both combined. Now it's going to depend on the spot. The clock is stopped at the moment. No signal yet for a first down. That marker is there at the 40, and the ball is, well, the tip of it's right at the 40.
They're going to bring out the chains and get a measurement.
Now they've already marked it as 4th down. Be a little presumptuous.
Well, they're going to come out and measure it, see if it is. We'll see. Pushing. And if you thought about challenging it, it's really one of the hardest calls to get overturned. The spot of the football, it's just really indecisive. Unless it's clearly obvious.
Well, certainly from that angle as well.
It's a first. No doubt about it.
It's a good thing your glasses are working very well tonight.
That's right. That would have been an interesting decision if they didn't get it, but clearly they don't have to worry about that now. Now they can keep the drive alive and get that first down.
Corey Gamage, the receiver, they haven't gone to him tonight. He's at the top of the screen here. The clock's going to wind as soon as it's ready for play. Again, Marshall's got 3 timeouts, but in no hurry with 1:10 to go.
Nope.
FAU jumped. It's a free play. Isaiah Green knows it, looking for Willie Johnson, and he leads him out of bounds. But it's going to be an offsides on FAU. Smart decision by the quarterback.
I love the official on the outside.
Offside.
He tripped.
Defense on the
Laughing about
45. 5-yard penalty. First down.
That's a heads-up play by Isaiah Green, but I say, hey, leave it in bounds. Give your guy a chance. Right there's the jump. Doesn't get back on side. And then how about the official? He
Tony
goes
Meyer
down in a heap on the outside. At least he's okay and able to give it a little chuckle.
You know, I don't know that side judges always show that type of quickness. Tony Meyer gets in on the action tonight. So at the penalty, it's 1st and 5. Marshall has scored every time that FAU is at a defensive penalty tonight. Gives it off to Knox. Breaks another tackle. Knox into the secondary. Another broken tackle. Down to the 4-yard line. the redshirt sophomore from Columbus. This drive has been all about Brendan Knox.
And this Marshall offensive line has done a fantastic job, but Brendan Knox making that, you got to, as a running back, there's going to be somebody on block most of the time. You got to make a guy miss, which he did that time, then drags a couple defenders down. I'll tell you one of the things most impressive about this drive, the utilization of the clock. No panic, take their time, and either score and then run out the clock at the end of the half.
Knox has 74 yards rushing on this drive. He tries it again, fighting for the goal line down at the 1, and now Doc Holliday takes his first time out. 26 seconds, there is a flag down on that first down play. As Brendan Knox is approaching 100 yards now in the opening half. Almost all of it on this drive. It's Glenn Spencer, the defensive coordinator, with Lane Kiffin. There's a lot of conversation. Now we still haven't had an announcement here from Ken Ante. But Doc Holliday took the timeout, right? But if the penalty's against FAU, the clock wouldn't start until ready for the snap. So Doc Holliday's got a decision to make on multiple levels. It was a 3-yard run on first down.
Illegal substitution, 12 minutes, 8 penalties declined to be second down. Timeout, Marshall, their first. 3:30.
Well, here's the reality, right? You take the penalty, 2.5-yard line. It's still first down, but there's 26 seconds left.
Yep.
You don't take the penalty, you're at the 1-yard line.
Right. Should we count them up? How many is that, Jason? That is 12.
I count 12.
Yep, too many.
You know, it's funny. We did mention that yesterday talking to Marshall about, you know, some of the new creative ways to play defense. And we did talk about the Packers playing with 13 men on the field and not getting flagged on Monday Night Football. So FAU is given the go, and they did get flagged.
That's right.
So 2 timeouts left for the Thundering Herd. Preseason pick to win the East Division. They got the win last week against Old Dominion. Most of the night, it has been an offensive struggle. This drive began on their own 7-yard line, and 2 big Brendan Knox runs, and they're right on the doorstep.
Brendan Knox really emerged on this drive as the guy that provided the spark on the ground. Remember, it was not that long ago, 10 minutes ago in the game, we were talking about the need for both teams to try to run the ball, establish the line of scrimmage. They've gotten it at Marshall.
Yeah, their stats are going to look a lot better at halftime than they would have 2.5 minutes ago. Wonder if you give the ball to Knox to pay it off. That is Devin Miller in motion. On second down, Knox towards the end zone, doesn't get there. Rashad Smith first to meet him in the hole. Clock continues to tick. Now Marshall takes its second time out. He was right there at the goal line, but Rashad Smith and Ray Ellis getting low to make the tackle.
Yeah, stoned at the line of scrimmage, running behind the middle of that offensive line, which is their strength behind center, Levi Brown.
The game clock to 20 seconds.
Well, if you didn't hear Ken Ante, they're resetting the play clock, putting 3 more
to
on.
20 seconds.
Excuse me, the game clock, so 20 seconds to go in the half. You know what's interesting, too? If you're a head coach and you're thinking about it, and no matter what happens, you're only going to have at most 2 more plays. 2 plays, you want 10 seconds, 12 seconds. Maybe take that timeout with 13 or 14 seconds. Why wait? Why? I mean, again, it's minuscule. But if you score here, you leave 18 seconds for FAU.
What do you think they're going to do in 18 seconds? You never know.
With Lane Kiffin, right?
Yeah.
Old school coach talking to Doc Holliday.
Yep.
New school, all about analytics and a little bit of the gut.
You're right. I mean, I've said I've marveled at the clock management of this drive. You are right. You want to try to score with 0 and leave them nothing.
Yeah. I mean, ideally.
Yes.
Not to criticize. I mean, this has been a fantastic drive.
Oh, for sure.
And frankly, they've used their timeouts brilliantly.
Yes,
wait till you get inside the 10-yard line to start taking timeouts. 1 left, 3rd down. The other question is, If you don't get it on third, are you going for it on fourth? They're on the doorstep, trying to tie it up. Knox again, reaching for the goal line. No signal yet.
Man, I thought he was in. Easy.
Touchdown, Marshall.
Touchdown, Marshall.
Doc Holliday was way out in the field. I think he was saying the same thing I was. What is taking so long? This is a big power lineup. See all those tight ends lined up in the backfield, get all those big bodies moving forward, and let the back take it in. That's a pretty good push up front. And then you just find a little crease in there to find a way across the goal line.
There's also no way to tell definitively, even if they were to look at this, because you lose the running back at the 1.
From those angles.
From those angles, sure. Rohrwasser's extra point is good. So a drive that started at the 7 with about 3 minutes to go in the half. And a 93-yard march for the Herd, leaving only 13 seconds for the Owls, and all of it with Brendan Knox.
You've got to give Brendan Knox a lot of credit, as well to that offensive line. That was a really nice hole that opened up on this big play when FAU brought a blitz and made them vulnerable to the big play on the back end. They see Knox, patient runner, shaking a couple tacklers, getting out in the open field, showcasing the ability to make guys miss. The power running at the end of these runs is really impressive. Those hidden yardage, taking guys, and then of course punching it in at the end.
He had 85 yards on that drive on 7 carries. The rest of the half, Brendan Knox, 3 totes for 10 yards. Marshall's got 195 in the opening half, Danny, and 133 of it has come from 3 plays. The 2 Brendan Knox runs on that drive and the 59-yard touchdown pass to Levias.
Remember what I said the Achilles heel of FAU was? The big play. They've given up some.
It'll be 30 seconds.
Well, Marshall's taking a timeout here. You maybe think about pooching, putting it on the ground. You want to see how FAU lined up. All right, Lane Kiffin's team. Great opening drive. John Rain, their tight end, who into the night averaged 6 yards per catch. Broke one off on for 61 yards. Other than that, and I realize there's 17 first half points, but other than that, almost every drive has been 3 and out.
Do you remember who we talked about in our open, leading off the show?
Malcolm Davidson, the running back.
Malcolm Davidson. Where have we seen him much tonight? Not much at all. They've got to get committed, like we saw Marshall do. They opened up, started to run the football, opened up everything else. FAU, I think, in the second half, has to come out and establish the run. Take some of that pressure off of Chris Robinson.
Line drive from Rohrwasser. Right to the up man. Now he takes off and down at the 32-yard line. That is Miko Dotson. With 8 seconds on the clock, FAU does have timeout, so maybe enough for a couple of plays.
Got the timeouts. You can take a shot over the middle of the field, get up, spike it, maybe get a big play on first down, maybe get a chance for a Hail Mary.
What would you do?
Not a lot of time. The way the game is unfolded, I don't know if I would, the way your offensive line is struggled, I would probably take a knee and take it to halftime. It looks like Lane Kiffin's going to maybe get a little more aggressive. I think the way they've struggled to protect the passer, you don't want to see a sack and a strip fumble.
Now they hand it off to Davidson instead. Breaks it to the outside, now cuts it back inside. Still 1 second.
Well, at least you bump up the rushing total there going into halftime.
No timeout taken. So FAU is going to trot off the field in a game that they have led for the majority. But we go to the halftime, 17 apiece. When we return back to New York, Brent Stover in the game coming up. You're watching college football on CBS Sports Network. Second half coming up from Boca. FAU going to get the ball after letting Marshall go right down the field at the end of the first half. Hey folks, Jason Horowitz, Danny Cannell, happy to welcome you back to FAU Stadium. Now that score makes it seem like it was an offensive first half with a lot of consistent points and yards. That really wasn't the case.
No, it was really a half of big plays for both teams and a lot of offensive struggles in between. But we saw Marshall get that run game going at the end of the first half, tying this game up, capturing some momentum back.
Yeah, let's take a look at the first half stats, the TGI Fridays first half stats and rushing yards. Now, Marshall had 85 of those on the last drive, most of them by Brendan Knox, so a little skewed, but I mean, that counts. FAU, you talked about Malcolm Davidson, the fact that he's got to be important for them. He had a rough half. They had a rough half running the football, but big plays. FAU's defense came in, giving up the big play, and Marshall took advantage of them.
Yeah, you see Armani Levias there, the tight end. That's been a big production for their wide receiving yardage. Is all right there in Levias, the big tight end getting the big play. But really the story of this half was Brendan Knox getting going. They were backed up in their own territory. You know, a little 2-minute drive, utilized all of the clock to take it down to score right before the half, tying this game up. A fun half, and I think you're going to see a game of adjustments. I think FAU has got to stop giving up the big play. We stopped about that. They got to figure out how to run the ball against Marshall.
4 plays for Marshall's offense went for 151 yards. 4 plays, 151 yards. The other 31 plays, 44 yards. So Chris Robinson going to bring the offense back out with Malcolm Davidson, their redshirt freshman running back, coming off 149 yards last week, but he really struggled here in the first half.
Yeah, and that happens a lot of time. Coming off of a big game, 149 yards led last time out against Middle Tennessee State. You know Marshall's going to be focused on stopping him, and that clearly looks to be the case. But still, if you're Lane Kiffin as the play caller, you have to stay committed to the run and create some more balance in your play calling, just to keep them honest, then sprinkle a little bit of the pass.
And again, remember, he's dealing with a hamstring injury. You can see it when he gets an open space. Certainly a big part. But he was able to run for 149, dealing with that last week. There were plays he ran past the Middle Tennessee defense. But no open space tonight. Marshall's run D has done a great job. Robinson passing on the first play of the second half, and that's complete. Harrison Bryant, for the first time tonight, the second leading receiver among tight ends in college football, finally has a grab.
Great way to help your offensive line is to go play action. Just hold them off just a little bit. Well, what a pass from Chris Robinson to his big tight end.
Went for 11. They hand off to Davidson right into the Marshall defense. It's led by Drayton making the tackle. Bryant, 25 grabs on the year, led the team, 16.5 yards per catch. A guy that Lane Kiffin said is certainly their best NFL pro prospect. He's been big all season long.
I remember we were here last year calling a game here against Louisiana Tech, and we had those meetings, and Lane Kiffin raved about his tight end. And every time a coach raves about his players, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, we get it. Like, you're selling your players. But then when we watched the game, Harrison Bryant kept popping on the game. Like, we kept watching it, like, hey, there's another play. There's another play. It's like, okay, this kid is for real. Really impressive at the tight end position. NFL caliber talent out of Harrison Bryant.
There's a player down for Marshall's defense. That is Milan Lanier, fifth-year senior defensive tackle from Cincinnati, Ohio. Their defensive line tonight, led by Channing Hames and Lanier, Jamari Edwards. They've done a fantastic job, not only in the run game, but with the exception of that first drive, they made Chris Robinson very uncomfortable in the first half.
Yes, they did. He was running. He never really, the pressure was coming up the middle, right in his face, so he couldn't step up in the pocket, was flushed out, and it really affects your vision down the field. Didn't look like Chris Robinson was seeing the field too well.
McCammon now in at running back. Robinson on the rollout. It's a tight end wide open. So clearly you go into the locker room as Johnson made the tackle and said, hey, we haven't even thrown the ball to Harrison Bryant yet.
But the adjustment has been as far as protecting the offensive line. They had a little play action. That time they moved the pocket, getting Robinson outside, designed to move the pocket, take the load off that offensive line.
First down, hand off to McCammon. This shows the patience. Cobb the tackle. Remember, FAU came into this game on a 4-game winning streak after starting the season. Losses to Ohio State, losses here in Boca to UCF. Marshall came in, preseason pick to win the East. Back to McCammon, finds the hole. Larry McCammon, the true freshman, inside the 30. Drayton brought him down at the 27, but he picked up 17 yards.
Yeah, we saw the play action pass earlier saying, look, this time they run it to McCammon. Watch the end there, trying to get the extra yards. His best hurdle attempt, taking the biggest shot from his teammate there at the end.
Fakes the handoff again. Robinson on the rollout, looking for his wide out on the sideline. Incomplete. John Mitchell, the intended receiver. Gilmore with the tight coverage at second down.
Lane Kiffin trying to make a case for a pass interference. He's wondering from the officials, hey, that was a lot of contact. You see him right there, holding his hands, couldn't make the catch. As you would expect a head coach to make the plea. Has a coach ever said, hey, good call, ref, or good no call? I don't think you've ever complimented the refs.
Well, yeah, when your team is on defense.
The other thing I've noticed, spreading out the field to run it on the inside.
That's Bryant in motion. Robinson, pressure right in his face again. Tyler Brown right off the edge. The homegrown from Huntington, West Virginia gets the sack. That's the third for the Thundering Herd.
Yep, they've been getting after it. That time bringing pressure. You get run on a couple times. Brad Lambert, defensive coordinator in that chess game, says, all right, you guys are running. I'm going to bring more bodies in the box.
Well, Robinson started this game 4 for 4. He's 7 of his last 16. He does have his first rushing touchdown of the season. This is 3rd and 15, early part of the third quarter in a tie ball game. Antoine not gonna get the first down. So they pick up 8 yards. Cobb on the tackle. You're looking at a 40-yard field goal for Rivas.
You're gonna see just a little quick hitting screen, a little bubble screen to the outside, or what looks like a bubble screen designed to go to the outside, but it's designed to cut back inside. And they're keeping FAU on the field here. Not a lot of confidence in their kicker, but also Lane Kiffin plays the percentages. That analytics game telling him, hey, we should go for it here.
Now, they have only gone for it 5 times on 4th down this year. Not as much as you'd think with a coach who talks about going for it on 4th down as much as he does. Robinson, pressure right in his face. Gotta get rid of it. He can't. Channing Hames right from the snap up the middle, and a turnover on downs for Marshall's defense. The decision to go for it backfires, and Marshall's defense gets the win.
What's concerning if you're FAU is how quickly that pressure comes right up the middle.
Robinson, nowhere to go. They don't take the points. We're still tied. Now FAU got into the red zone and then stalled, went for it on 4th. Still tied as we take a look at our Dr. Pepper Fansville cam here at FAU Stadium. It is hot, it is sticky. I wouldn't want to do much moving either.
Yeah, you would. Do a little dancing. That's what kind of moving you need to do.
Yeah, I would hang out there.
Yep.
Like if you're gonna pick a spot in a stadium, you'd want to hang out field level on the cabana. And a better place, you got to bring the young ones here. And the older ones too.
Yep, and Captain Steubing.
Yeah. I'm not sure what the fantasy football stock is. You think they're auctioning off? Do you think you get to take that flat screen TV with you if you pay for the cabana?
I don't know if they do. I think that stays.
Knox breaks another tackle. We're starting to see that a lot. He didn't get a lot of touches the first quarter and a half. Last drive, he got it going, and then all of a sudden, now he's almost at 100 yards.
And you're going to see more until FAU stops him. I mean, Marshall feels good right now. They were struggling really to find any offensive rhythm in the first half, just a couple big plays. They're going to keep hammering Brendan Knox, which is going to present some opportunities outside.
Green keeps it, throws it short to Devin Miller. Breaks a couple more tackles and falls forward. That ball's out. It's still loose, and it's picked up by Marshall. Miller was falling to the ground, but he fell on an FAU player, and that ball came out.
You see this happen a lot, Jason, when you're trying to get those extra yards and you're trying to be strong and pull guys with you. You kind of forget about the ball security. Meanwhile, a bunch of defenders are around there trying to strip it out. See him fighting for those extra yardage, and the ball just kicks out.
I wonder if they want to take a look at this to make sure, in fact, he was not down. Because if he is down,
he's right off the defender.
Definitely not.
Yep.
Because if he is down, it's not a first down. But with the ball moving forward, it is. Dangerous throw for Green. Now that ball's out. Lewis and Gilbert out in coverage on Xavier Gaines. Let's go back one more time. Again, that Devin Miller play. He just carried defenders, but it's when he's on the FAU player, Amon Ross's helmet. Well, Isaiah Green did throw the interception in the first half. It only led to an FAU field goal. Miller's still not back on the field. That's Gaines closer to the line. Hand off to Knox. He's now over 100 yards and a lot more again. Brendan Knox out of bounds at the 36-yard line. Third time over 100 yards this year.
All right, we're giving a lot of credit to Brendan Knox, but this offensive line deserves a lot of love. Opening up some holes up front for Brendan Knox to run through, then he does the rest, taking it home. But this offensive line, led by center Levi Brown, really one of the strengths of this Marshall team.
You mentioned Levi Brown. He was added to the Outland Trophy watch list as one of the best interior linemen in all of college football. He's the center tonight. It is his 44th career start. They're wearing on this FAU defensive line. Three-man rush for Green. Steps up, takes the shot, overshoots Gaines. Dotson in coverage. And again, Marshall's receivers getting a step on the secondary, but Green's just off.
Yeah, you see the 57% completion percentage on the year. These are the types of throws they would love to see him connect on. Has pretty good time. You saw Xavier Gaines open down the field. If he leads them across the field, that's a touchdown. It's a little bit of slap later.
How hard's that throw on the run?
It's a little bit tricky, but not if you lead him across to the right. You know what I'm saying? Like, so if that was a makeable throw for Isaiah Green. He's got to make that one.
Instead, it's 2nd and 10. Ball at the Florida Atlantic 36. Green on the keeper. Breaks another tackle, and he's got 10 yards.
Isn't it amazing how when you start running the ball effectively, everything else just opens up? We're seeing receivers run open down the field. Now we're seeing the quarterback get involved. You see the little fake to Knox up the middle. Every defender attracts towards him, which allows Isaiah Green to bounce it out to the outside.
Marshall had 13 yards rushing on all of their first half drives until the last one. They're now up near 140 for the ball game. Knox breaks it to the outside, gashing FAU inside the 5. Knox finally taken out of bounds, but not before he sets up 1st and goal.
I think what you're starting to see, what you're realizing, Jason, and what Marshall is realizing is FAU is a fast, athletic defense. They're not exactly stout up front, and Marshall's starting to realize, hey, we can get physical, push them around a little bit, and they're having some success.
Tonight's Red Zone brought to you by Verizon. The Herd has gotten in twice, converted on both. They have not been good scoring touchdowns in the Red Zone this year. Before tonight, just 10 of 18 into the game. What a turn of events. FAU went for it on 4th down. Marshall right back down the field. The handoff to Evans. Picks his way to the 2, but he lost the football. It's loose at the bottom of that pile. FAU fighting for it.
Boy, that's a vicious little scrum going on down there.
Marshall's got the football. Now Evans came out and they lost the football.
Marshall ball, 2nd down.
They're still fighting for it. That's Alex Millette at the bottom there.
They don't know that the call has been made already. They're just wasting their energy. You know how taxing that is physically to be fighting in a tug of war for the ball? I used to be at the bottom of those, come out exhausted. Now again, when you're fighting for those extra yards, as you're seeing Evans try to do, that one just comes out. FAU's been pretty opportunistic trying to strip the football.
Well, that's been one of their strengths the last 4 weeks. Heading into the night, FAU +8 turnover margin during the 4-game winning streak. Tonight they have the interception, so +1 on the night. But Marshall got that bounce back, and Knox is right back in the ballgame. A season high 141 yards. He's got a touchdown carry. He's got the ball, lowers the shoulder. He's close to the goal line, but again, late signal. They're looking and looking and looking. And now we got late flags. That looks like that's thrown on Isaiah Green.
It is. The official is not happy with Isaiah Green. And that is such a costly penalty down there regardless, you know, what happens.
Well, here's the thing, though. Now, they haven't ruled this anything yet.
Well,
if this is a touchdown, that's an after-the-play penalty.
That's not going to be a touchdown.
If it's not a touchdown, they're going to get pushed back to the 15.
That's why I'm saying it's a costly penalty. I would. This would be the longest delay in the history of football to call a touchdown after this one. This is going to come back. Now, they could review it, on the other hand, look at it and determine a touchdown. Then it's a different scenario. Here's a look at Knox. Tries to jam it up in there. Trying to drive his legs.
His knee's down there.
Yeah.
We've seen this a couple times tonight from FAU.
The ruling on the field was that the runner was short of the goal line. After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct, offense, number 17. It'll be 15-yard penalty, and it'll be 3rd down. The previous play is under review.
Now, Isaiah Green was making the case for Evans that he was in. See him right in the middle of your screen. Watch, he's looking down, talking to some FAU defenders, trying to protect his guy, and he comes up and says something. And the official, it catches his ear. I don't know what it was. It wasn't to the official, looked like, but Isaiah Green was in the middle of that scrum, and he said something that caught the official's ear.
Well, he also got tapped on the back, and he's looking at the pile.
Right.
So you're not necessarily sure who touches you on the back.
Right.
And how about the fact, and Doc Holliday's livid about this, that's not under review. The touchdown, whether it is or not, is what's under review. But how about the fact the officials didn't make a call? Right? It's either a touchdown or it's not.
Right.
Don't let that play go on forever. They never made a call until they made the announcement. And Doc Holliday's got to be escorted
right
back.
now, yeah.
Well, and he should.
Yeah, absolutely he should.
You can't tell on that play whether, on that angle, whether it's a touchdown or not.
It wouldn't be overturned if it was called. This call on the field is going to stand.
After review, the ruling on the field stands. The unsportsmanlike conduct on number 17 offense, that is his first unsportsmanlike foul.
I think Doc Holliday is more mad about the flag than the spot.
Sure.
I think he's livid that his player, we watched the replay, looked like he might have said something, but man, what would you say that gets you a penalty that's
Well, but
egregious?
you know what? Both officials throw the flag here. Watch this. So he turns around, and there are 2 officials who throw the flag simultaneously. So it had to clearly be something bad enough. And did he also make an official with contact with the official? That's the other part.
I don't think he made any contact with the official. I think that's what Doc Holliday's upset about. In any case, now they got a 3rd and long as opposed to inches.
That's gains in motion. Knocks the handoff. Back inside the 10. Leroy made the initial stop. Smith cleaned it up, so 4th and goal. And they'll send the field goal unit on, and now Doc Holliday's got to give Isaiah Green his pep talk.
Yep, he's asking him, saying, hey, I know whatever you said, you got to own up to it, and now you got to move on. But that's the one strength of Isaiah Green. Doesn't get up, puts you down, he'll be fine.
Roasser hit from 30. He is a perfect 6 for 6 on the season. This from 25 to give Marshall the lead. Still perfect. Thundering Herd take the 4th down stop at a field goal on the road, facing adversity. Marshall's got the advantage. Oh, long drive by the Thundering Herd and a field goal and a 20-17 lead. Sunday, the NFL on CBS. We're at Lambeau Field. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers hosting the Raiders. Well, others get set for an AFC East clash between the Dolphins and the Bills. It all begins. JB and the guys getting you set for all the action at noon Eastern on CBS. Speaking of the Bills, how about Devin Singletary motor and his 54 touchdowns the last 2 years here at FAU. Frank Gore there as well in his 15th NFL season. His son, Frank Gore Jr., committed to play at FAU. He is a senior at Killian High School here in Miami. You know, you'd like to think you've got Miami fans down here, but I'm not so sure anymore. I mean, Dolphins fans, not Hurricanes fans.
I know. Hey, I grew up in South Florida. I'm giving up on the Dolphins as well. I'm going to have to find a new team with the tanking that's going on.
Yeah. Ground ball kick. And returned out to the 32-yard line for FAU. How about the Thundering Herds defense? They gave up a 75-yard drive on the opening drive for FAU. Since then, they've been shut down.
Chris Robinson has been running for his life. Jamari Edwards getting after it. A lot of penetration up the middle of the field throughout. I think Brad Lambert's doing an outstanding job as a defensive coordinator, dialing up pressures at exactly the right time. There you see Channing Hames, who's an interior force. Not exactly your typical big body, wide body type on the interior, but he just has a knack for squeezing through those holes, getting to the quarterback.
On first down, Robinson play action again, pressure right up the middle. This time he gets rid of it and throws it out of bounds. Marquise Couch knocked him down late.
I mean, 99, Jamari Edwards comes running through there about unblocked. Come from the right side of your screen. I mean, he's flashing in Robinson's face almost immediately. And as a quarterback, there's nothing frustrating than, you know, it's one thing if the edge comes at you, you can step up, but Chris Robinson has nowhere to step up to, and there's no pocket.
Robinson again, patted down. Omari Cobb got his hands in the air, and it's third down for this Marshall defense that came in. They've been giving up yards on the ground a ton this season, but tonight's totally different story.
Omari Cobb is getting blocked. Oh, excuse me, right there. Getting blocked, you got a body on you. If you can't get to the quarterback, the next best thing you can do, jump up and bat it down.
Marshall's been getting pressure with only a three-man rush tonight. That's what they show. Robinson's gonna check out of it.
They're all gonna stand back there, create a little umbrella, keep everybody in front of you, come up and make a tackle.
That's Bryant in motion. Just the three-man rush. Robinson for Bryant, makes the catch right in front of Gilmore. What a throw by Robinson.
But Bryant, you can see him come in motion, slide out, come out down this little stop and go action. We talked about keeping him in front of you. He sold that little hitch route, then a double move, gets past him. That's a poor job by the secondary, though.
Get play action. That one's caught down the field for Antoine. There's a flag down back towards the line of scrimmage. D'Angelo Antoine, the fifth-year senior, transfer from USF.
Ineligible man, downfield. Offense number 73. 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
We're seeing this called a lot more in college football with the RPO game, the run-pass option game, because the offensive linemen are going to run block every time. They don't know if it's a pass. They're letting the quarterback read it out. You've got to let the timing beat the lineman down the field. That time held it just a little bit too long, and Walton was traveling down the field and got busted.
After the penalty, 1st and 15. Robinson looking towards the end zone into double coverage. Nazeeh Johnson, safety all over the leading receiver tonight for the Owls, D'Angelo Antoine.
And it's interesting when you're watching FAU, who's got a little something on this drive, but a couple times when they do have the protection, nobody's open. This is pretty good coverage by Marshall with two defenders around there. I think Chris Robinson was just throwing that somewhere safely to get rid of it.
This time they do go to the ground. McCammon fights his way to the 41, so he picks up 9. 3rd down, 6 coming up for the Owls. They've already gone forward on 4th down at Marshall's 23-yard line on the opening drive of this second half. Came up empty.
This is a typical passing down, right? 3rd and 6-ish, but don't be surprised at all if they're given the proper numbers that Lane Kiffin would decide to run it, fully knowing that if they get close, he's going to go for it on 4th down. And when I said the numbers, that's what they're checking right there. That's what Chris Robinson is looking over to see how many guys are in the box. And they'll decide to throw it or run it. And all of it took a long time, so they called timeout.
Well, also the play clock went to 0, too.
Timeout, FAU.
So FAU is going to talk about this 3rd and 6, and we'll take the break with them. Marshall's got the lead. Crucial 3rd down coming up. third down coming up out of the timeout. Let's take a look at our top 25 scoreboard tonight, brought to you by Red Lobster. Ohio State, early first quarter, 7-0 lead in Evanston over Northwestern, a team that can't score touchdowns this year. Meanwhile, by the way, Pittsburgh is dominating Syracuse at the Carrier Dome. But here's the story of the weekend. 10 top 25 teams on the road against unranked opponents. Who's going down?
Keep an eye on the Florida Gators. I put them on upset alert. South Carolina coming off that huge win against Georgia. People contributed to sloppy play by Georgia. I think South Carolina's defense is going to give Florida some problems.
And Ryan Alinsky is going to play. At least that's the word out of Columbia. Nick Troney is in the game for this third down. So they go to their Wildcat quarterback, but he doesn't get the first. Stopped about a yard shy of the marker, but we've seen them go for it on fourth down. This is two-down territory.
Zero hesitation from Lane Kiffin. He's going to go back to Chris Robinson on the field, but that play call told you all you needed. Keeping it on the ground, said, hey, we are going for it on fourth down. Lane Kiffin knows exactly the personnel he wants to go to. Probably already had the play in mind for just this specific circumstance, 4th and 1.
Already been stopped on a fourth down here in the third quarter. Plenty of time on the play clock. Now they got to move. Robinson to Davidson, and he's met behind the line. One more time, Marshall gets the stop. Furman Silva, the FIU grad transfer, getting the stop on Lane Kiffin.
The Marshall defense getting it done. Short yardage, 4th down. They need a stop. They come up with a big one to get the ball back. Give it to Isaiah Green and company.
Another fourth down stop for Marshall, keeping the 3-point lead. Tomorrow, CBS Sports Network brings you a full slate of college football, starting with an in-state showdown between Kent State and Ohio. Then at 3:30, it's USF battling Navy, followed by ECU at UCF in prime time. And then later, we wrap things up with Air Force flying into Hawaii, trying to deal with Cole McDonald, the 5th leader in passing yards in season. He's got 20 touchdowns. 9 interceptions, though, certainly a big number. A lot of those were week 1, though, when he got benched against Arizona. He has taken care of the football a lot better the last few weeks.
Yes, he has. One of the most prolific passers in the country. What you would expect from Nick Rolovich's offense out there on the island.
A couple of yards for Brendan Knox on first down. How about defensive coordinator Brad Lambert for Marshall? 6 years as the head coach at Charlotte. We got a chance to meet with him last night, and he says Charlotte absolutely has the infrastructure to get things going. He took the program over before they even had started a game. They thought they were going to be an FCS program. They started right away in the FBS with all the shuffling of teams from Sun Belt to Conference USA, and they get the invite. And he has done a fantastic job tonight. His defense has Levias maybe a yard. Danny, their defense has done a fantastic job in critical situations tonight.
They really have, but this was about Armani Levias. We saw the big play. Watch the stiff arm, Jason, right at the top there. Oh, just get off of me. Now, there was another defender that come up and made the tackle, but that is a big, grown man, stiff arm from Armani Levias.
Well, on Devon Brown, who we got a chance to meet with yesterday, he is not a big
exactly,
man.
He's not.
He's about 6 feet tall. They list him at 190. Levias is a solid 255. This is a big third down stop for FAU. Late in the play clock. Pressure comes. Green gets away. He needs to get the 46, and he's not going to get there. So after another fourth down miss by FAU's offense, this time the defense comes up with a 3 and out.
And they needed this one. They needed to get back on the field. Isaiah Green looking around. Again, similar to the struggles you're seeing with Chris Robinson in the past game, pressure comes from up the middle by FAU, preventing him from being able to see the field.
A chance for Lefevre to pin FAU back deep. Cousart lets it go over his head, takes a Marshall bounce, and it's down inside the 5.
A beautiful punt, beautiful cover.
52 yards on the punt, no return.
It's a pretty good decoy by the returner, acting like he was going to return it, but it's like being able to suck back a golf ball. You know, yeah, there you go. That's what I was just thinking, the same thing. It's a little wedge, put a little action, and suck it right back to the pin.
Says the man with a 3 handicap to my right, Danny Cannell.
Don't out me, man. I get more strokes than that.
I think Lane Kiffin's got a decent golf game, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. I'm sure he does.
He's got to come up with a good offensive game plan right now. His team's moved the football here in the third quarter, but they've come up short on a pair of 4th downs. Backed up deep. Maybe a yard for McCammon. Omari Cobb making the stop for Marshall. You know, you came into this game, we talked about Malcolm Davidson. He had the 149 yards. McCammon only had 1 carry in the first half, but he has gotten the majority of the reps here in the third quarter. Davidson's back on the field now, but just no rushing attack tonight for FAU at all. Robinson, pressure again, sacked in the end zone. Tyler Brown got him for a safety. Now there was a flag thrown at the 6-yard line, but Robinson ran back into his own end zone and couldn't escape the sack.
Chop block, offense, number 16. That penalty's declined. Result of the play is a safety.
Yeah, when the players engage, when there's an offensive lineman and you come up to make a block, you cannot engage the lower half of the body, which clearly FAU did there. The up back, as Harrison Bryant coming up there, went too low, so they were all over it, but then you see the pressure by Marshall. And that is a safety all day long.
Now here's my question.
You're saying the momentum?
Well, not only that, but Robinson tried to get the ball out over the goal line as he was being taken to the ground, and if the ball is out past the goal line as his knee hits in the end zone, it's where the ball is.
I appreciate how you're always looking for something. There's nothing there. That's a safety. I'm telling you, that's a safety all day long. Let's see if you can make a case.
I don't know.
Try to sell me on this a little bit harder.
All I'm saying is just watch him reach the ball over.
Yeah, he tries.
Does it break the plane? Is it out of the goal line as he's going down?
Watch him there.
No, it's not.
Knee is down. No, it's not even close. I don't even know if he was trying to get out of there.
I'm not sure.
But I appreciate you trying to sell it.
You two text me on a weekly basis, big man. I love how you try to sell the end of the game.
You're all about the drama. You want to increase the drama for the viewers.
Well, how about FAU, right? Offense, well, not so much there, but offense in this third quarter has moved the ball. Robinson has made some pretty passes and 0 to show for it in the third quarter with 2 trips inside the 30.
It's just you got to have an awareness of when you can throw it away. It's not a bad thing to throw the ball away.
Free kick, dies at the 35. That's a loose football. FAU's trying to jump on it.
Boy, this is going to be, I think both players had their hands around the ball simultaneously. This is just going to be who's the strongest grip.
There's pushing, there's shoving, there's a lot of guys
Marshall's got it.
Well, the officials aren't even in there. It is Marshall football.
Yeah.
Now they are.
Marshall ball.
Hey, they got to get them separated pretty quick or there's going to be a fight.
Yeah, that's Talik Keaton. And now their officials are getting them out of there.
I'm telling you, Jason, this ball was grabbed simultaneously by both players at the point. Now, you mentioned it. You got to get on that. That's a live ball. They realized it a little bit too late. They meet the ball at the same time. And that is a struggle under there to hang on when you got about 5 players coming up. It's Keaton, pretty nice job on the bottom there, just hanging on for dear life.
Well, with Tyreek Tisdale, backup running back.
Your forearms will start to cramp under there. I mean, you're using every bit of your fingers, your arms to try to grasp onto that football and not let it go.
Well, a couple of those bounces have gone Marshall's way tonight. Remember, they fumbled at the 2-yard line, which ended up resulting in a touchdown. So still have the ball. Evans maybe a couple of yards.
I mean, they're really starting to move the defensive line for FAU and establish the run game successfully, whether it's Evans or Knox. And they've had a nice little mix of run and pass despite being so depleted at wide receiver. They've gotten really nice production out of their tight ends.
Well, they have to snap it at least one more time here in the third quarter. They cannot take it all the way down to the fourth. About a 1 second differential between the play clock and the game clock. It's back to Evans. He's met in the hole. Khalif Bryce made the stop, and that should bring us to the end of the third. Marshall's defense gave up yards, but they got 2 fourth-down stops. Lane Kiffin's team, 4-game winning streak. It's on the line, and it's the end of the third. 22-17 Marshall. You're watching college football on CBS Sports Network, presented by Geico. Now, this new light show that they're going on all over college football is outstanding. They got it here at FAU as well. Danny Cannell, Jason Horowitz, happy to have you back with us here in Boca, getting set for the start of the fourth quarter. This feels like Marshall is in control. Bend, not break. They're only up 5. They have the football, but it feels like they're playing better football.
Ever since the 2-minute drill right before the first half ended, you saw Marshall commit to the run game. They got success with it with Brendan Knox. All of a sudden, it feels like they're starting to push around FAU's defensive line. FAU's going to have to come back, get a little bit more risky, bring some more blitzes to stop that run, which is going to open up some opportunity for Marshall in the pass game. The question is, can they convert?
Chick-fil-A game summary through 3 quarters. The rushing difference has been enormous. Sacks. Marshall, remember, 8 sacks last week, 5 sacks tonight. The Thundering Herd had 10 sacks in the first 5 games. That's 13 in the last 7 quarters against Old Dominion and now FAU.
Been their guy.
It's third down to open the fourth. Green takes off, leans forward, but he's still a couple of yards shy. Tim Bonner made the tackle, and it'll bring up fourth down inside their own 45. You know, I know Doc Holliday is an old school guy and everything. I mean, he punts when he's on the opposition's 35, and here he goes.
Yes, I wouldn't have hesitated long if you would have said, do you think they punt? I would have said absolutely. The way his defense is playing, the way they're getting after the quarterback, the way they're kind of controlling this game, as we were just talking about, I'd say you kick it away and say, go ahead, FAU, you go ahead and drive the length of the field.
And the way that their punter is playing. He had that one bad punt in the first quarter, but Robert Lefevre has been outstanding here tonight. And that's another one. High angling kick, another Marshall bounce, and again down inside the 10. Now Kuzer picked it up. It touched Marshall. Kuzer picked it up and lost the football.
It was touched though.
And that's what he's yelling about.
Yeah, he gets a free run at it. It was touched. He's telling me, I think that was a pretty heads-up play as long as it hit the Marshall player, because then you can take that risk. Now in this angle here, you'll see. Let's see. Does Marshall touch it? Does look like number 34 there hit it with his hand. And you see, he's right there looking at the ball. I think he knew he could take that risk.
We had first touching by Marshall at the 9-yard line.
There you go, right on it.
The FAU's ball, first down.
I mean, that's actually a really heads-up play from Coussart. He knew it. He's pointing at it, showing the ref, all right, I can take this chance, because what's the worst risk? If you fumble, nothing happens. So you pick it up, you make a couple tackles, miss, all of a sudden maybe gain 10, 15 yards. Totally worth the risk.
Well, now they're good.
Touching by Marshall at the 9-yard line. FAU's ball, first down.
Ken Ante said that they were looking at it, and that's, I mean, but you can tell Stephen Gilmore absolutely touched the football.
Yep. And I tell you, it was a pretty heads-up play by Coussart to point it out, like, hey, this is what I'm going to do, because he touched it. He's almost alerting the refs to it.
I mean, we've had some strange, not so normal occurrence on kickoffs and punts tonight. Remember, second quarter, we had that kickoff where the fair catch was called for, and then the returner picked it up, but he let it bounce first, so it's dead there. Needing a touchdown. Robinson to the air on first down. Backed up, looking for Harrison. Too far in front, it's Gilmore out in coverage. Crowd wants pass interference, none's coming. Lane Kiffin is stalking the sideline.
Trying to make his best case. Finally, they get good protection. You got all day to throw. He takes the shot down the field, running stride for stride. I personally think that's a pretty good no call. I thought it was just kind of hand checking there. Although the one problem is the defensive back was not playing the football. That would be your contention if you're Lane Kiffin.
Now they hand it off. Nazeeh Johnson made the initial hit on Davidson. He picked up 7. 3rd and 3 coming up for the Owls. Tell you what, Robinson, the last 10 passes, he has been sacked 3 times. 1 of those is safety, 5 incompletions. He is 2 of his last 7 sacked 3 times on top of it.
Well, they might run the football here.
Nope, pulls it, throws it, caught, 1st down. Bryant's 4th grab in the 2nd half. Taken out of bounds by Burton, but that's a big 3rd down conversion.
I thought they were bringing Harrison Bryant down to block. He comes down the line of scrimmage. When he's coming across, then he pops back out. Here's some of the backside action on that play. And a pretty heads up by Robinson.
And again, he's looking downfield. That's Antoine. He made the grab up at the 38-yard line. Johnson again there in coverage, made the tackle. But enough for the 1st down on the 11-yard pickup. Robinson to Antoine. Play action again. Rolls out. He's got plenty of space to run, and he dumps it down. Made the better decision. Harrison Bryant just sat down, came back to the football, and he picks up 12.
A pretty nice job. That's a scary throw to throw across the field back in the middle. It's always a risky one, but Robinson, pretty good feel. Notices, as you mentioned, that's pretty heads-up play by Bryant, just to kind of settle in a little soft zone. Don't get covered. Sometimes guys try to run around too much to get open, and if you're smart enough, you realize that, hey, nobody's around me. I'll just throttle this down and get a ball.
Bryant didn't have a catch in the 1st half. He has 5 for 72
Marshall.
here in the 2nd half, and Marshall's going to use one of its 3 timeouts on defense. Thundering Herds. Defensive unit has played great here in the 2nd half, but FAU's on the move.
It will be a 30-second.
Out of the timeout, Robinson, 16 of 29 tonight, 263, has run for a touchdown. Hasn't thrown an interception. In fact, FAU tonight has not turned the football over. This offense last year struggled with turnovers all year, just 5. Now with almost 7 games complete here in this season. Again, Robinson, time to throw down the field. Receiver bumped, flag. This time Harrison does draw the flag on Stephen Gilmore.
FAU calling up some shot plays as Marshall was committed to that run up front. Beautiful read by Robinson.
Pass interference. Defense, number 34. 15-yard penalty from the previous spot.
Now, the throw wasn't the best throw. If he leads him across, that's probably a touchdown. But because it was back towards the left, the receiver had to adjust to the ball, thus running into the defensive back.
Previous spot. Automatic 1st down.
Well, FAU's receivers last year was a struggle for this offense. They don't have a ton of depth, but John Mitchell's having a breakout season, and D'Angelo Antoine coming from USF.
He's a big physical specimen. Mitchell is on the outside, but they also have to use their tight end some.
Throw it to the outside. That's James Brunson. Lowers the shoulder. That's his 1st catch of the season, and he just ran over Nazeeh Johnson.
Nothing fires up a team than when a guy runs somebody over. Get some nice blocks up front from those tight ends, and then just destroy the defender coming up to make the tackle.
Maybe he just said, give me some more plays. I've got your depth.
Yeah.
McCammon to the ground.
But, I mean, the reaction from the FAU bench after that play, you could see them infused with a lot of life and energy. Loving seeing that.
An FAU drive that started inside its 10-yard line. They've moved the football in the 2nd half. They have not scored, but the Owls have absolutely moved the football here in the 2nd half. More consistently they did than in the 1st half. Robinson, happy feet, trying to get out of the pocket, chased down and escorted out of bounds. Drayton there to clean up the dirty work done by the defensive line, and that'll bring up third down.
As we've seen most of the night, Robinson forced from the pocket. The other thing you've noticed too is when he's been forced, there's been pretty good coverage down the field. Hasn't had a lot of options to make plays on that scramble drill.
Well, he also doesn't throw the football away. He has lost a few yards not throwing the football
That was
away.
a good example there.
So backed up to 3rd and 10.
Again, we see this umbrella look from Marshall, trying to keep everybody in front of you.
Bring Burton closer to the line. They run the football. Davidson breaks a tackle, trying to get to the goal line. Stopped at the 1. Amari Cobb made the stop, and it's 1st and goal.
Do you remember last night we talked to Brad Lambert, defensive coordinator of Marshall? He said, you know what? They are not afraid to run it 3rd and long. They were playing to keep everybody in front of them. Lane Kiffin said, no, we'll try to run it.
Robinson keeps it himself, looking for his 2nd rushing touchdown. He's in. Touchdown, Owls, and they go back in front. Now there are flags back at the 11-yard line.
But there was a lot of shoving after the play. As Robinson was pounding his way into the end zone, there was quite a few Marshall players came over. You saw a little bit of extracurricular, but that's not where the flag is. There are 2 flags out there, one by the pile and one in the backfield.
Well, and again, it's crucial. Is this after the play?
Yep.
This is if it's during the play or after the play, that's huge.
We're on the field for touchdown. After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct, number 53 on the offense. That's number 53's first unsportsmanlike foul. That'll be enforced on the fly.
Well, Desmond Noel in his 2nd start, transfer from Fort Scott Community College.
He's over here in the pile of the run, but then watch what happens after. So there's a lot of, activity. Look at it, 5 white Marshall jerseys tackling Robinson. Now let's see if his offensive lineman comes over to kind of help him. See, it's hard to tell with these lights.
Well, now also interesting, remember, you have the choice to take it on the extra point or take it on the kickoff, and Doc Holliday choosing to take it on the extra point because he knows, well, not only that, he knows FAU would go for 2 to put him up by 3, as opposed to only needing a field goal to take the lead. So you're not going to take it on the kickoff. You're going to make FAU try the extra point. Rivas sneaks it in.
It was almost blocked. They had a extra point block last week, too.
Sure. So unsportsmanlike penalty costs FAU a chance to go up by a field goal. With 10 minutes to go here in Boca. Owls have the lead again.
College football on CBS Sports Network is sponsored by Old Trapper Beef Jerky. What's your beef? By Red Lobster. And by Lilly Diabetes.
Breast Cancer Awareness Month, the month of October. Doc Holliday's team just gave up the lead, the 91-yard drive by FAU. Lane Kiffin's team up to 336 yards of offense, but the unsportsmanlike conduct after the touchdown cost them a chance to go for 2. So instead of maybe having a field goal lead, it's just a 2-point lead.
Yep, that could be critical, Ed. Very heads-up play by Doc Holliday, as you've referenced, taking that penalty when they did on the extra point.
Angles towards out of bounds. Now that's dropped. Now this is huge. Now he called for a fair catch. If he drops that ball outside of the pylon in the field of play, Marshall's going to have the ball at the 1.
We had a fair catch signal, and the ball hit the ground. However, the ball hit the ground in the end zone. Therefore, it's a touchback.
Now there you go. I wonder if they'll take a look at that.
You're trying to build up that drama again. I like it, though. I appreciate it. It was close, though. It was really dicey. There's the fair catch signal. He goes over. You have to catch it. You have to secure it.
Well, hitting the pylon is hitting the ball out of bounds. In the goal line.
Yep.
In the end zone.
All right, let's see if Marshall tries to get Knox more involved again. Go back to that ground game, which they've had a lot of success with.
Isaiah Green looking for anyone downfield. That's dangerous. Way too hard for Devin Miller, who was not expecting the football.
No. Devin Miller thought the play was dead, and Isaiah Green was either going to eat the ball, try to run it, or just throw it away. I think the last thing in the world he thought was he going to throw it to him about 2 yards from him, right in his face. You can see, I was like, wait a second, is this coming to me? I actually think Green might have been throwing that ball away. A little bit of miscommunication in any case.
Kind of hard to throw the ball away when you throw it right at your receiver's face.
No, he lifted up his hands.
Play action again, pressure in Green's face from two guys. This one just throws it out there and it's caught. David Richardson makes the grab, and it's a first down on his first catch of the night.
Man, that was a dangerous throw, but how impressive was it? Isaiah Green knows he's got to come back on the outside, throws it way before the receiver's out of his break, but throws it perfectly. Nice job by the receiver, Taven Richardson, going to get that ball out, extending his arms. If he sits back and lets that ball come to his, that's batted down.
Well, and remember, Marshall playing without Brock Thompson. That's just the second catch by a wide receiver tonight. Green has a wide open man downfield. Willie Johnson, touchdown. 60 yards. He hits his speedy receiver, and the Thundering Herd retake the lead.
This is a straight busted coverage, and I did not know, Jason, I was up here pounding you saying, I don't know if he sees him, but clearly Willie Johnson running wide open. That was a busted coverage by FAU because they had nobody accounting for him. See the inside defenders handing him off to the safeties, and the safeties way too late to the party. And remember, Willie Johnson had a wide open touchdown earlier in the game. Got to give him credit. Sometimes that gets in your head a little bit. And sometimes those layups are really tough plays to make.
Well, now the play clock had wound down to 0 because Marshall's lining up for 2, right? Yep. 5-point game versus 6-point game. You go for 2 here.
Marshall will go for 2.
He didn't miss Willie Johnson a couple of times tonight. That time put it right on him. To the corner, and it's bounced, and it's incomplete. Xavier Gaines, they call it a catch. Xavier Gaines, they said he got his hands underneath it, and I guarantee we're going to look at this.
Yeah, I was with you. You called it, said this ball hit the ground. I'm pretty sure it did too. Although,
maybe not.
Although, Xavier Gaines did a fantastic job of going down to get that. My observation would be, man, this was an easy touchdown or an extra conversion if he keeps it up high. But Gaines,
wow,
spectacular job of getting his hands underneath, bringing it to his chest.
The bounce was off his hand, not the ground. Marshall got the 2-point conversion. All right, Danny, can you now take us through what happened on the touchdown pass?
All right, watch these two players. These are the two guys that I believe messed up the coverage here as they're dropping back. Watch 15 at the bottom. See him a little bit late, and then the slot defender is passing him off, assuming that Dotson's going to be back there deep in that deep middle of the field. It was just a little subtle, just one hesitation that he was a little bit late getting there. And when you got speed like Willie Johnson running right through, that's the perfect recipe for a wide open touchdown.
Tell you what, Marshall's coaching staff loves redshirt sophomore quarterback Isaiah Green because of his ability to forget bad plays.
Yeah.
He has thrown an interception. He was whistled for an unsportsmanlike that ended up taking a touchdown opportunity away from Marshall. But man, has he bounced back from those with a couple of long touchdowns. Ball into the end zone, out to the 25. How about our Geico difference makers? Brendan Knox really started things for Marshall's offense on the last drive of the second quarter. 150 yards, season high for the sophomore at over 9 yards a carry. But then Chris Robinson, he has been under pressure the entire night for FAU, but he's hung in the pocket. He's approaching 300 yards passing.
He hasn't let the pressure get to him. I mean, sometimes you start losing your confidence, you cough it up, you turn the ball over, you throw an interception. He's kept fighting, carried the ball in the end zone one time. It was pretty impressive, you know, able to power his way in on the run. Pretty good night for him so far.
Well, and he hasn't had the turnover. That's the other part. Again, FAU this year, totally different. Pressure comes, hangs again. Good throw. Harrison made the grab right in front of Gilmore. It's enough for a first down.
It's a great throw. Robinson shows me a little oomph with that arm, showcasing some arm talent. There was an earlier throw to start the half to Harrison Bryant. That one there was a wide side, you know, throw where he's got to really rip that. Showed a lot of arm strength and accuracy.
FAU trying to keep pace with Western Kentucky atop the East Division. Both unbeaten in conference so far. The handoff. McCammon's wrapped up. The ball did come out.
Oh.
Picked up by Couch, but he was down. Davidson was down.
Malcolm Davidson has not had the best night. Not a lot of holes to run with.
I don't know that ball is down.
I think that's out. No, I think that ball's out. They're going to snap this quick enough where it won't matter.
They got to take a look at that. That ball was definitely out. There was no whistle down to review that. Robinson makes the grab, but incomplete. Mitchell sliding out of bounds when he made the grab. We got to go back to that fumble by Davidson.
Well, there he is. There's ankles are wrapped up, but that knee, there is a lot of space there between the knee and the ground, and the ball is out. You were right.
That's a missed call.
Yeah.
That's one that the replay official has to whistle down and at least take a look at it. Because on top of it, there's an immediate recovery. That's the other part that has to happen to overturn the play on the field, but there absolutely was the immediate recovery. Doesn't matter now, 3rd and 8 for FAU. Down by 6. Robinson down the field. Nazeeh Johnson again in coverage, and no pass interference.
I'll tell you one thing, Jason, these officials have been pretty consistent as far as letting them get physical on the outside. There was some contact here. See, I think that's a pretty good no call again. I think that's incidental contact. I think they're both making plays for the ball. I mean, but I could see, if it was called pass interference, I wouldn't be outraged either. You know what I mean?
Here's the thing. Yes, Johnson sort of turns his head around for the ball.
Yep.
You still can't run through the receiver before the ball gets there.
I don't think he
It's not an
ran through
excuse
him.
to tackle the guy.
Hey, the officials have been consistent. They've let him be pretty physical on the outside.
Here's a flag.
False start. Offense, number 35. 5-yard penalty. 4th down.
They have been consistent, but it has been a little bit of a rough night. Late calls.
Yep.
Some of the other issues that have happened here tonight. Either way, Lane Kiffin's team on a 4-game winning streak. Defense is going to have to get a stop. A-ball lets that one go. Keaton falls on it at the 21. Can Marshall put together a drive to maybe end this game and leave Boca with a win? Coming up next, get ready for some late night Mountain West Friday mayhem. UNLV fresh off its win at Vanderbilt. On the road to take on Fresno State right here on CBS Sports Network. Carter Blackburn, Aaron Taylor, Jenny Dell. They have the call coming up from Fresno. Lane Kiffin started his career, at least playing-wise, at Fresno State. Then David Carr comes. Lane Kiffin's not going to get the rep, so he quits. Came back to Fresno State's campus, was an assistant coach, and that's how Lane Kiffin got his start in coaching. He's got a bunch of coaches' kids on this coaching staff. Brent Stockstill, an offensive player personnel assistant after his 6-year career playing for his dad, Rick Stockstill, at Middle Tennessee. Charlie Weiss Jr. is the offensive coordinator here at FAU. But right now, it's the defense that has to get a stop. Brendan Knox, well over 150 tonight. Charlie Weiss Jr. upstairs. Just 26 years of age in his 2nd year as the offensive coordinator. And he's gone with young offensive coordinators here. Kendall Briles was his first offensive coordinator here.
Yep.
Who's now up at Florida State.
I think about it too. Lane Kiffin's dad, as you mentioned, Monty Kiffin, one of the most well-respected coaches at the NFL level.
Yep.
Obviously has an affinity for other guys, been in a similar situation, you understand.
Isaiah Green keeps it himself, maybe back to the line of scrimmage. Bryce Pierre make the tackle, 3rd down and 6 coming up for the Thundering Herd, who, remember, time and score at the end of the second quarter. They were outstanding. Took the entire end of the last 3 minutes and scored a touchdown. Here in the second half, Isaiah Green has the 60-yard touchdown pass. And really tonight, it's 2 big shots. Everything else has been 4 or 5 yards.
Yep, and this is time where, you know, good teams, they close out games. You convert on these ones. I would keep an eye on the tight end, the big tight end. That's been his favorite target, Marnie Levi. See him getting a little help there with the play call or snap count.
Lions not open. He gets out of the tackle. Can he get to the 31? He cannot. Pressure up the middle. Credit Green getting away, but it's 4th down coming up on a 3 and out.
It didn't matter where he was trying to go with the football. Everything was covered, and then the push up front, and you see the late blitz kind of coming through the middle, forces him from the pocket. Right there, right in the middle of the screen, kind of reading the play, recognizing, hey, they're keeping an extra blocker. It's a key blitz. He sees, hey, the guy I'm in coverage with isn't going out in a route. I can get after the quarterback. And what a quick reaction there to get the pressure.
Again, that average for the Fever, a little bit smaller because of the 20-yard punt. Couzard on the run, and he just slides between 2 Marshall players who are a little slow to get up. Stephen Gilmore. But helped off. The Owls, the ball back, needing a touchdown. FAU football, 5:42 to go here in Boca. Jason Horowitz, Danny Canal, as we revisit, Danny, what you thought had to happen tonight for both these teams.
Yep, for Marshall offensively, we talked about the tight end, Xavier Gaines. He's been a critical component. It was really Armani Levi, the other tight end who's had the big game. And then still struggling to turn the ball over, but they've had this bend, don't break. And then for FAU, build a hedge for Hodge. So the good news is Hodge hasn't done too much damage. The bad news is everybody else on that Marshall defense is with 6 sacks. 6
sacks for Marshall after 8 last week.
And then you see the balance, risk versus reward. Still struggling with a couple of those big plays that they've been susceptible for, FAU has defensively.
So now it's on the shoulders of the redshirt sophomore. Robinson, again, pressure right up the middle. Chase to the outside, has to get rid of it. Tavante Beckett applied the pressure. Smart decision, throw it away, live to play 2nd down.
That play was weird. It looked like Robinson was trying to set up a screen, but the offensive linemen weren't releasing. Just a little off, and I think he wisely said, I'm going to throw this ball away. We talked about him being able to do that, so he didn't take the big loss.
Well, and to your point about everybody else, Hodge not having the big game after 4.5 sacks last week, that's the 14th quarterback pressure tonight. They're getting home, and they're forcing Robinson to make plays on the run. This time, clean pocket. Looks for Bryant, it's deflected, and it's caught off the deflection. Was it inbounds is the question for Mitchell. They mark him inbounds on a catch, and they want to go fast.
Sometimes you'd rather be lucky than good. And I don't know if that's a catch. They're trying to go fast to get this off.
They got to look at that. And there it is, yeah.
FAU was very wisely trying to get up there as fast as they could before it was stopped.
Previous play is under review. Ruling on the field was a completed catch for a 1st down.
Well, especially after the last drive where there was a fumble called down on the field and there was no review. It should have been Marshall football. Take a look again.
Off Bryant's hands.
Is any part out of bounds when he has the football? Is any part in bounds?
Yeah. I was going to say all of it's out of bounds. That knee looks clearly out of bounds from that angle.
Is there any chance his right foot is down in bounds?
Before he leaves the air?
When he has the ball, before his right foot goes up, is it in bounds when he makes the catch?
So you're talking about this foot, correct?
Right there. Now he's got the football. Is the right foot inbounds? Is it down on the ground? Remember, the call on the field was a completed catch.
That is as tight as it gets. And you have to consider, is there enough to overturn it? And that still shot right there, gosh, is that close? I mean, is there a blade of grass underneath there?
His toe
does look like his toe is touching the ground.
And that would constitute a completed catch. If his toe is inbounds.
Which would be a fantastic job of being aware of that, trying to drag those feet, which receivers work on in practice all the time. That would be outstanding body control and awareness by Harrison.
Well, they had moved the chains into Marshall territory.
And they are moving them back.
Those chains are now being moved back. So my guess is they're going to overturn this.
I think so too, which I'm a little bit surprised because I don't know if that's clear cut enough to say he absolutely didn't have his toe down.
Now he doesn't have the ball yet. He still doesn't.
He's got it there, though. That ball is possessed in his two hands.
But the ball moves again, though. But right there, that toe, you can see the grass comes up. I think that's a catch.
I do, too. That ball, the one thing that you referenced was the ball, was it secure when his hands were on it? We're talking about 1/100th of a second timing there. But again, if we can make a case for this, I don't think it's blatantly obvious.
If we could show that one more time, and again, they're continuing to look at this with tonight's replay official upstairs from this Conference USA crew, Remus Kozica.
The previous spot. This one to me looks, this was our first reaction. You're saying, yep, he's out. Like there's no case he caught that.
But it's the other look. You see the grass come up when he has the football right here. He has the football right there. His toe looks down.
Does the ball shift in his hand? Is it under control? I think it is.
Well, but remember, it was called a catch on the field.
That's what I'm saying.
After review, the receiver did not have possession prior to stepping out of bounds. It's incomplete. It'll be 3rd down and 10 at the 31-yard line.
I don't know that there was enough to overturn the call on the field.
I'm with you. I think it's not obvious. I think you'd still make a really good case, as we did. That he had it. Now, you mentioned it. You saw that, just that little slight juggle, but I don't think it was clear-cut enough to overturn.
Well, Marshall didn't get the fumble on the last drive. FAU doesn't get the bounce on this drive. Now what? 3rd and 10, 5:15 to go for Chris Robinson. Over the middle, that is a rifle. Back to Mitchell, and that's a 1st down right in front of Drayton.
Beautiful throw by Robinson, set his back foot in the ground and ripped it. Perfectly thrown.
Settles into a clean pocket, another one. Mitchell, carry on Morrell, trying to get him down, but the big 6'4" receiver, back-to-back grabs.
I mean, these are beautiful throws, tight spiral, showcasing that top-tier arm talent, and Chris Robinson's starting to feel it right now.
4th 300-yard passing game in the last 5 games for FAU.
Got to keep protecting him. I'll watch and see if Brad Lambert starts to pressure a little bit, bring some more blitzes, showing blitz here potentially. Yep.
There's the pressure. Free run. Omari Cobb gets the sack and a 10-yard loss for FAU.
They brought everybody from, from all angles. And they brought more than FAU could handle, which tells me that's got to be on Robinson, aware of that situation, either knowing where to get rid of it quickly to a hot read, or again, throw it away.
That's 7 sacks for Brad Lambert's defense in his first year as defensive coordinator at Marshall. 15 the last 2 weeks. Bryant in motion. Robinson looks the other direction. Antoine goes up and makes the grab. What a catch over Nazeeh Johnson to get the ball down to the 2.
Man, this is such a great play by Antoine. Like, up there, falling away, receiver, defender in his face.
They go fast.
And it pays
Davidson.
off.
Touchdown, Owls. Tie ball game with 3:36 to go.
And FAU, as you saw it, ran up as fast as they could to try to catch Marshall. Just a little bit lax on the defensive end to pay off after the big play. They did just that. So many times you got guys running around after a big play. If you run up there.
3-3-9.
I can add 3 seconds onto the game clock.
Now remember, FAU had an extra point blocked last week. There was also a closer one earlier in this game.
Well, and Rivas has missed extra points in 3 of the last 4 games. Is to take the lead. The sophomore from Florida. Puts him in front. 4th lead change of the second half. Conference USA, East Division, huge battle, and it's coming down to the wire in Boca.
Is that...
Quesadillas?
Gordon Ramsay handing out samples. Seems like just an okay use of your culinary talents, dude.
Yeah, it is, smart guy. Almost like having a brand new iPhone, but not pairing it with AT&T.
That's true, Gordon Ramsay.
Hey, fingers! It's not a buffet. Use the cocktail stick.
In the cocktail
Sorry,
stick.
Get the most from your amazing new iPhone 11 Pro on AT&T, America's fastest network for iPhones. More for your thing. That's our thing.
Now Isaiah Green has the chance to answer. Chris Robinson has played a fantastic football game.
He really has. I've been really impressed in the difference. Last year I was less than impressed. You know, he's a freshman, he was growing, but just looked a little bit frazzled, wasn't where to go with the ball. And tonight, see the composure, even though he's been getting chased around all night, and really making some big throws on that drive.
And remember, Chris Robinson originally signed to play at Oklahoma. Right,
was in a quarterback room with a lot of talent on that roster.
He was there when Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield were both there. Austin Kendall, who's now the starter at West Virginia, was cited for public intoxication, dismissed from the team, came to FAU, and the talent is undeniable. Evans coming out, and it looked like he lost the football. FAU's got it. Now the official is saying he was down by contact, and we're going to have another review.
With the confidence of that official.
Ruling on the field, but the runner was down prior to possession.
That official looked pretty confident saying this ball is down. I'm assuming he had a really good look at it. We'll get a look at it here. You see Evans.
His knee's down right there. His knee is down, and now the elbow's down. No question.
But there's a hip and an elbow, too. Yeah. That ball's down. I think.
My point was you only need one thing to be down.
That's right.
So, Justin Rohrwasser has not missed a kick this season. He is a perfect 7 for 7.
Why you put the broadcaster jinx on him, or try to?
They got to get down the field first anyway.
True. All right, so you say it early enough, it doesn't impact it.
Yeah,
okay,
we're
good.
showing him early. Right, we got 3:34, and
I don't like when all you play-by-play guys try to put the hex on.
If I didn't do it, I have a feeling you would have. Knox, first down handoff. FAU flies to the football, maybe one. 3:25 to go. They have run the football well since the end of the second quarter. Marshall has run the football well, and with the exception of 2 home run passes, it has been a struggle to throw the football. How are you playing this 3:15 with 2 timeouts?
The exact same way I did it before the half if you're Marshall. Take your time, execute your offense. You have to get first downs. You don't have to go super fast. You got to get first downs and run the ball.
Green looking deep downfield, and it's incomplete. Xavier Gaines again, slight step. Green overthrew him.
Put a little bit more air under it. Sometimes you see quarterbacks make that mistake. You put it on the line, there's not much margin for error when you do that. If you put a little air under the ball, the receiver can adjust to it. He might be able to maximize his speed and kind of bait the defender. There's a lot more options that can happen.
Glenn Spencer, first-year defensive coordinator. He was on Charlotte's staff last year. And remember, there are still 2 timeouts. 2:58 to go. If Marshall doesn't pick up any yards here, they're going to punt the football.
Think about this. Third down, you got three tight ends in the game. Not your typical set third and long.
Green dances, buys space. Eyes downfield, throws it to Gamage, makes the grab, and has the first down. Corey Gamage out across the 40 with his first catch of the night.
Boy, what a fantastic play by two people. Isaiah Green buying the time, realizing what's at stake. I have to make a play. Let me buy something. But then how about Gamage? The field awareness. He knows he doesn't have the first down. He's got to make a move. Jukes it back inside and picks it up. Great play.
Danny, he didn't have a catch in the last 2 games. That had been 11 quarters without a catch, and it's Tim Bonner who was down for FAU, their best pass rusher.
And you know, remember I marveled at how Marshall used the clock before the half, right? Used it all, didn't leave any time left for FAU. That is a perfect world situation. I don't think you're worried about the clock. You're worried about putting yourself in a position to score, but at the same time, you're not in a massive hurry. You can just run your offense, smooth pay. You don't have to be frenetic.
So Bonner's helped off the field. For those of you tuning in for the UNLV Fresno State game, you'll be able to find that online at cbssports.com/CBSSN as soon as it kicks off. And of course, we'll get you out there immediately after this game. Carter Blackburn, Aaron Taylor, Jenny Dell, waiting to get that going in Fresno. Not done though. We got the barn burner at the Copacabana in Boca. All that's missing is the umbrella and the straw. Approaching 2.5 to go. 4 lead changes in the second half. Green takes off, and he's wrapped up around the ankles. Great job, David Belvin III, who just came in for Bonner.
That's pretty good. Get fresh legs in there. That's what happens. Pretty nice burst off the ball, making sure you got to wrap up Isaiah Green. Gets just enough his legs for the tackle.
Second and 10, approaching 2 minutes. Thundering Herd, still 2 timeouts. Green over the middle, that's caught. Devin Miller near the first down marker, about a yard shy. Rashad Smith in on the tackle. So 3rd down, and now as you're approaching 1.5 minutes, now it's 4-down territory.
Yep, absolutely.
7 Owls right near the line. The handoff to Knox anyway. Burst through the line. First down and more. Brendan Knox takes Marshall into field goal territory. Now there is a flag back at the line of scrimmage.
Boy, this would be a bad penalty after the play, but here's a look at Knox. Burst through that line of scrimmage. And a pretty nice tackle by the secondary, but this is coming back. There was some extracurricular activity with FAU and 2 Marshall offensive linemen after the play. And I think this is going to be on a Marshall offensive lineman, a unsportsmanlike.
Well, if it's unsportsmanlike, it's still a first down.
After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct, offense number 79. 15-yard penalty. That's number 79's first unsportsmanlike.
So that is on Josh Ball.
It's 15 yards from the end of the run after the play.
Yeah, so you still get a pretty nice chunk. You're still down there close to field goal range. But you were really close.
But here's the problem. Rohrwasser's career long is 45, which he hit last week. After the penalty, if they don't gain another yard, you're talking about a 50-yarder.
Right. And that's a critical, boneheaded play. Like, extracurricular after you have to demonstrate discipline and avoid it. Let's see if we can get a look at Josh Ball. Bottom of your screen. Keep your eye right there as there's some, you're driving him into the ground, shoving him a little extra.
Back to Knox, dances to the outside, great block. Ooh. Levias with the block and knocks the hurdle inside the 25. Clock will stop as he gets out of bounds. but he picks up a first down, and now you're in field goal range.
I think you have to stay aggressive. You have to keep the mindset. We need a touchdown. I know you only need a field goal, but you don't want to get too cautious. In the NFL, maybe you get away with that. NFL kickers, college game, no way.
Rohrwasser was good last year, 15 of 21. Again, he has not missed tonight. Clock stopped 1:18. FAU has 2 timeouts. Now Lane Kiffin's going to have to start thinking about maybe saving some time. Back to Knox at the 21-yard line. Nico Dotson the tackle.
I'll actually be surprised if Marshall throws the football. I think being in this situation, you stay aggressive, try to grind it out, but I don't know if you risk putting it in the air.
Well, and here's the other thing, and I just mentioned it. Lane Kiffin has 2 timeouts. Chris Robinson has a 360-yard passing game. You've got to give your offense a chance to get the ball back. Knox picks through.
Now you'll call timeout for Lane Kiffin.
There he is. There's the timeout. Leroy made the stop. 3rd down, 2 yards coming up.
Timeout.
42 seconds to go. Timeout will step aside for 30 seconds. Now the LED lights going out. That'll make Justin Rohrwasser maybe a little bit nervous. Needs a field goal. Our player of the game brought to you by Old Trapper Beef Jerky. Gotta give it to Brendan Knox, Danny, who's approaching a 200-yard game on the ground.
Yeah, it all started that 2-minute drill before the half, and then they really never looked back. Were able to establish the line of scrimmage, push around FAU's defensive front 7. But they can use a little bit more yardage here, get it a little bit closer. They'd love to obviously punch one in. But Brendan Knox been a workhorse this afternoon, been really impressed the way he's run the football. So actually, you got Evans in the backfield now as Knox gets to look on.
So 3rd and 2 coming up. And the officials have stopped it.
Please do not play the music when the offense is set.
All right, Dad. Why can't we play music?
Hey, the UNLV at Fresno State game is now underway. It's available at cbssports.com/CBSSN. And again, we'll get you out there as soon as this one is over. Third and 2.
You know what that allowed? It allowed Knox to come in the game. They had Evans in there.
Yeah.
They bring back in Knox. Again, I'll be surprised if they throw it.
And again, you get the first down here. You can do whatever you want. Set it up for Rohrwasser or take the ball. Knox has the first down, carrying the defense. Touchdown, Marshall. Forget the field goal.
How many times have we seen a short yardage situation, a bunch of bodies up around the line of scrimmage, and then Knox bursts through the hole to that second level? And man, is he tough to tackle in the open field. What a play for Marshall. And Brendan Knox, our player of the game, showcased why. We might have given it too early. We didn't even need that.
His second touchdown of the night. Danny, remember, before the last 3 minutes of the second quarter,
Marshall.
Brendan Knox had 3 carries for 10 yards. He has 22 for 190 in this ballgame. And Marshall's taking a timeout. You obviously go for 2 to try to go up by 7 with 36 seconds to go.
Yep.
Now, the reality here, he got the first down. If you make the tackle, Marshall can take all the time off the clock and settle for a game-winning field goal.
Right.
So reality here for Lane Kiffin and FAU is, yeah, you don't want to give up the touchdown. You'd love to assume you're going to get a blocked field goal or something. But if you give Chris Robinson time to get a touchdown.
Yeah, if you gave up the first down, that's your thinking then. You got to try to make the most of this.
You know, we've seen defenses try to let people score. The Lions last week against the Packers on Monday Night Football. And Jamal Williams was super smart, go down at the 3-yard line. Packers went on a walk-off 20-yard field goal. Again, that did not look like FAU was trying to let Brendan Knox score.
No, they absolutely were not. Again, college kicking game, a little bit dicier.
Green on the 2-point conversion to the back of the end zone. It's incomplete, but that's interference on Xavier Gaines. Nico Dotson out in coverage. And we'll get to do that two-point conversion all over again.
Yeah, this week they've let him play physical, Jason, most of the night, but this was a little bit too physical.
Pass
Again, not
interference.
playing the ball.
Defense, number 15.
Here they were way too early, but Dotson.
Comes to be half the distance to the goal. Replay the try.
It's that big size difference. Xavier Gaines clearly had the edge, and if you're Dotson, you're just holding on. It's not the worst penalty in that spot. You don't give up that many more yards. You don't allow the touchdown.
Well, FAU last week had a blocked extra point that they converted, took back to the end zone for a two-point conversion. Remember, if you get a turnover and you can take it back for a two-point conversion, that would make it a field goal game. It's Evans in the backfield. He gets the carry, and he's not going to get there. He's wrapped up. Leroy again, along with Zion Gilbert. Achilles Leroy has played a great football game from the linebacker spot.
Yeah, not much space for him to run.
So it stays at a 5-point game. It's quickly, as we've got a good finish here. Let's send it back to New York City and our man Brent Stover.
Guys, we'll head to the Mountain West next. UNLV on their opening drive gets a field goal. They lead at Fresno State nearly 4 minutes in. 3-0 Rebels. The game is at cbssports.com/CBSSN. You can watch it now. We'll get you out there on CBS Sports Network when you guys are done.
All right, Brent, thank you very much. We still have 36 seconds. FAU still has one timeout. Remember, came in on a 4-game winning streak, unbeaten in conference play. Western Kentucky, a surprising 3-0 in league play, has the advantage. Marshall, your preseason pick to win Conference USA's East Division. This was the highlighted game, or one of them on the season going into the year, and it has lived up to all of it.
It has, man. It's been a fun game.
Now, Marshall's kick coverage has been a problem all season. Tonight it has been good. This is a short kickoff. Killing time, trying to get through and out to the 33-yard line.
I think this is an area where Lane Kiffin does have a bag of tricks that he can dial up. Some chunk plays. You know, whether you see like a hook and ladder type play, a lateral, just something up his sleeve. He usually has at least some decent options, because there aren't a lot of good ones when you need to travel this far and get a touchdown with only 31 seconds left. But he is a dangerous play caller, play designer in this type of situation.
67 yards away from a game-leading touchdown.
And you got to be cautious if you're Marshall. You don't want to play too much prevent and let him get down there too easily. And then you can start reaching the end zone.
Remember, Marshall has 7 sacks tonight, too. That's right. The other part. They only bring 3. Robinson, all kinds of time. It's up for grabs, and it's intercepted. Stephen Gilmore stepped in front of the pass. The first turnover of tonight, and it's going to end the game.
Boy, Robinson, this is a really tough throw to make. On the opposite hash, you're going way across the field. That ball is in the air a long time, and Gilmore read that perfectly, stepping right in front of John Mitchell. And this is just a comeback on the outside. The route.
Timeout. Marshall, their last.
Protection's there, everything's good, except the defender read it the whole way. Stephen Gilmore saw that ball and broke on it before the receiver did.
How about that? Brad Lambert, like, you're going to turn around and you're going to go back and say, okay, yeah, there's 31 points scored. It feels like his defense played a lot better than that tonight.
Oh, man. That's quite the different reaction than some other coaches, like the Coach Cam videos in the coach's box. We see some of them go viral sometimes. It's nice to see a guy relaxed and celebrating a win up in the box. Rich Rodriguez at Ole Miss was going nuts earlier in the year.
He broke an entire box of pencils and maybe a desk. Right. What a time for your first career interception.
Oh.
The sophomore from Rock Hill, South Carolina, home of Winthrop University. Made some starts last year. He had gotten beaten a couple of times tonight.
And you got to have a short memory as a defensive back, you know, step up and make the play.
Well, and how about this? The officials making sure they get control. We've had some chippiness tonight. Ken Ante was just going down the line saying, let them go. Right, they're going to take an knee. FAU does have a timeout left. Lane Kiffin's not going to take it. 5 second half lead changes, and the Thundering Herd and Isaiah Green, a comeback win on the road at FAU for Doc Holliday. He moves to 10-3 in the state of Florida the last 6 years with a road win here tonight at FAU. So Marshall to 2-1. FAU falls to 2-1. All chasing Western Kentucky. Early part of Conference USA season. Once again, our final score, 36-31. Marshall the road win. For Danny Cannell and our entire crew, I'm Jason Horowitz. Now let's send it out to Fresno. Carter Blackburn, Aaron Taylor, Jenny Dell, UNLV, Fresno State already underway. Carter?